Chapter 126, Song Recordings. A week flew by, and the long-awaited day had arrived for Lucas to record at the famed Electric Lady Studios. Walking towards the studio with Samantha by his side, her excitement was infectious. "I am really excited about this," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "Me too," Lucas agreed, his voice filled with a mixture of nerves and excitement as they moved through the hallway. "This is my first official recording session in a established and professional recording studio such as Electric Lady Studios." Samantha gave him an encouraging nod. "Also, thanks for letting me tag along for your session. It's going to be a huge learning experience for me." Lucas responded with a warm smile, "No problem at all." As their conversation continued, they reached the studio entrance. Inside, studio manager Lee, whom Lucas knew well, greeted them with a familiar smile. "Lucas, great to see you back," Lee exclaimed, offering a firm handshake. "We're all set up for a fantastic session today." Standing next to Lee was Alex, the sound engineer, who stepped forward with an outstretched hand. "Hi, Lucas, I'm Alex. I'll be handling the mixing and mastering for your tracks today. Excited to work with your sound." And beside Alex was Jamie, the studio assistant, her enthusiasm evident. "I'm Jamie. If you need anything during your session, snacks, drinks, just let me know." Lucas felt a wave of gratitude for the warm welcome. "Thanks, everyone. I'm really looking forward to today." Studio manager Lee gave a nod, then shared, "We've gone over the musical notation from the sheets you provided and have put together a draft track. Take a listen and see what you think." Lucas, Samantha, and the studio staff gathered to listen to the draft through the speakers. The song, "Someone You Loved," filled the room. Lucas tapped his foot in time with the music, noting how closely it mirrored what he remembered from his previous life. However, he could tell something was missing. The track lacked certain nuances he recalled. Given his musical background, Lucas was keen to fine-tune the details. He shared his thoughts with Lee and the team, drawing from his memories to enrich the song's depth. Alex, the sound engineer, nodded in understanding during their discussion. "Got it," he said. "With a few adjustments, we'll be close to wrapping this up." Lucas gave a satisfied nod. Fortunately, the studio was well equipped with all the necessary sound elements to enhance the track, making the process smoother and more efficient. After meticulous adjustments and Lucas's final nod of approval, the atmosphere in the studio shifted towards the main event, recording the track. Inside the vocal booth, Lucas stood isolated yet visible through the glass, the focus of attention from Samantha, studio manager Lee, and the entire studio team, who watched with anticipation. Equipped with headphones, Lucas peered through the glass, seeking the signal to start. Across the room, he caught Alex's reassuring gesture, a thumbs up signaling everything was set. Lucas adjusted his headphones, securing them in place as the instrumental track softly filled his ears. On the other side, Samantha, Lee, and the rest of the team donned their own headsets, tuning in to hear Lucas's voice intertwined with the music. As the first chords played, Lucas took a deep breath and began, "I'm going under, and this time I fear there's no one to save me," his voice resonating with raw emotion, filling the studio with the poignant lyrics. From the first note, Samantha, Lee, and the staff were utterly transfixed by the performance unfolding. Lucas's voice carried the weight of every word, weaving a tapestry of sound and sentiment. As the song reached its conclusion, a respectful silence hung for a moment before Samantha broke into applause, her hands clapping in genuine admiration. "It was really good," she exclaimed, her voice a mixture of surprise and delight. Lee, Alex, and Jamie joined in, their applause mingled with nods of approval and murmurs of amazement. "Incredible," someone whispered, while another voice added, "Damn. I think this song will become a success." Lucas, still in the booth, could hear the cascade of praises through his headphones, each set equipped with a microphone for two-way communication. Acknowledging their applause with a modest smile, Lucas signaled his desire to hear the playback, his artist's ear critical and attentive. To everyone's astonishment, after listening, Lucas requested another take. He felt something in his performance could be better, his dedication to perfection evident. The team exchanged surprised looks, a mix of respect and understanding flashing in their eyes. Without hesitation, they prepared for another take, aligning with Lucas's commitment to capturing the song's essence just right. Then, Lucas repeated the song until he was completely satisfied with the final rendition. After many takes, he finally gave a nod of approval, a clear sign of his satisfaction with the result. With the recording of Someone You Loved successfully wrapped up, Lucas stepped out of the booth, ready to tackle his next challenge, recording perfect. He gathered with studio manager Lee and sound engineer Alex to review the initial draft they had prepared. After a thorough discussion, Alex adjusted the track to better align with Lucas's vision, infusing the arrangement with a pop sensibility similar to the track of Someone You Loved. Lee, no stranger to pop music's nuances, offered Lucas an approving nod. "This track sounds great," he said, offering a supportive pat on the back. Initially, he had pegged Lucas as more inclined towards ballad, country, or folk genres. However, through their work on tracks like Someone You Loved and Perfect, it became evident that Lucas had a broader affinity for pop, a revelation that only increased Lee's respect for him. Reflecting on the successful recording of Someone You Loved, Lee felt reassured that the favorable conditions extended to Lucas were well justified. The day's work not only showcased Lucas's versatility but also cemented a mutual respect between the artist and the studio team. Chapter 127, Album. Lucas's engagement with the Electric Lady Studios had increasingly consumed his schedule, dedicating nearly the entirety of his day to the meticulous recording process. Tracks like Someone You Loved, Perfect, and The Scientist reached their final, polished versions, marking a significant milestone in his musical journey. For Lucas, this marked a novel experience. Immersing himself fully in the song production cycle was a fresh challenge. Yet, his approach remained unfalteringly efficient. He had arrived well prepared, armed with drafts of the tracks, meticulously crafted according to his own musical vision and detailed notes. The dedicated and skilled team at Electric Lady Studios noted the achievement of recording 3 significant songs in a single day as a notable success, a testament to both Lucas's preparation and the studio's professional environment. Looking ahead, there was anticipation for the next day's session, where Lucas planned to delve into recording additional pieces from his repertoire, including the likes of Wonderwall and Everglow. The following morning, Lucas, accompanied by Samantha, returned to the studio, their routine now familiar yet filled with an air of expectancy. "I'm quite curious about the songs you'll record today," Samantha remarked casually as they made their way together, her tone light yet laced with genuine interest. From her perspective, Lucas's previous day's recordings had not only been impressive but had profoundly resonated with her, cementing her status as not just a collaborator but also an ardent admirer of his work. Moreover, her feelings for Lucas had subtly evolved, veering towards the tender beginnings of a crush. Despite this, she maintained a composed exterior, acutely aware that any overt display of her burgeoning affection might risk revealing her feelings to Lucas. Once again, Lucas entered the recording room, immersing himself in the familiar process of refining the music. As usual, he engaged deeply in discussions about the drafts of the tracks, fine-tuning each element to align with his vision of perfection. Today, he was set to record 2 particularly meaningful songs, Wonderwall and Everglow. As Wonderwall began to fill the room, Samantha was transported back to the night they first met, the melody echoing memories of Lucas's performance in the bar. This time, however, the song was enriched not just by the strumming of a guitar but by a meticulously fine-tuned backing track, elevating the music to a new level. After several takes, the recording of Wonderwall was satisfactorily completed, and they transitioned to the next song, Everglow. As Samantha listened, she realized that, much like Someone You Loved, Everglow represented another of Lucas's fresh, heartfelt contributions to his repertoire. Hours ticked by, marking the end of Lucas's recording session. In total, 5 songs had been laid down, cumulatively running for around 22 minutes. This duration was a significant achievement. According to the Recording Academy, an album needs to surpass 15 minutes, and Lucas's collection comfortably met this criterion. While in the UK, the definition of an album can also hinge on the number of tracks. It should contain more than 4 tracks or last more than 25 minutes. Although Lucas's total fell slightly short of the 25-minute mark, his project still qualified as an album under UK standards, as it comprised more than 4 tracks. This distinction underscored the successful outcome of their diligent studio efforts. As the recording session came to a close, Lucas was engulfed in a whirlwind of emotions as he exchanged goodbyes with the studio staff. Despite the brief span of their acquaintance, merely 2 days, he had forged a meaningful connection with Alex and Jamie. Discussing the nuances of the tracks with Alex or receiving a considerate gesture like a bottle of water from Jamie, Lucas felt genuinely appreciative of their support. It was the small acts of kindness and collaboration that had left a profound impact on him. The sentiment was mutual. Alex and Jamie typically maintained professional detachment with the artists who passed through their studio, but Lucas broke that mold. It wasn't just his music that set him apart, though his songs were undeniably engaging and thought-provoking. It was his demeanor. In an industry where ego often followed fame, Lucas's humility and approachability stood out starkly. For Alex and Jamie, Lucas wouldn't just be another name in their studio's log, he would be remembered fondly. After leaving the studio, Lucas and Samantha shared a moment of conversation, a brief interlude before parting ways. As Lucas walked away, Samantha lingered, watching his retreating figure, a mix of admiration and unspoken thoughts swirling within her. Riding in the taxi, Lucas found himself lost in deep thought. With the recording of his songs successfully completed, his agent Vincent was now on the hunt for record labels to distribute his album. Lucas had already shared the news with Vincent, who, in turn, promised to introduce the album to various record labels. He had whimsically titled the album Knight, a nod to his last name and the romanticized figure of the mounted warrior. While Lucas hadn't given much thought to the name initially, he appreciated the connotations it carried, echoes of gallantry like a knight in shining armor or a noble guardian. Furthermore, he envisioned the album's cover featuring him holding a chess piece, the knight symbolizing strategy and foresight. However, Lucas soon let go of these reflections. Naming and conceptual thinking were not his strongest suits, he preferred to let the music speak for itself. So, he leaned back, allowing the calm of the taxi ride to wash over him, just as his phone broke the silence. On the other end was a call from the production team of Seven Kingdom, reminding him that filming would start in 2 days and urging him to prepare. Accustomed to such reminders, Lucas responded with brief affirmations before ending the conversation, his mind already shifting back to the quiet comfort of the moment. Chapter 128, Meeting in the Airport. Lucas's contract for the Seven Kingdoms series on HBO stipulated that he would earn $45,000 per episode. Despite Vincent's efforts to negotiate an increase in Lucas's appearances per episode, the production team reasoned that Lucas was not sufficiently experienced or well-known to justify a salary of $80,000 or more per episode. This was the case even though Lucas had delivered a notable performance in 127 Hours and made a guest appearance in Modern Family. Furthermore, the indie film 127 Hours, despite its support from indie film enthusiasts, was relatively unknown in North America and especially around the world. Therefore, while Lucas is undoubtedly talented, he has not yet reached the level of popularity necessary to command a higher salary per episode. Lucas arrived at the airport and noticed the production team of Seven Kingdoms already gathered there. As soon as Lucas made his entrance, David Benioff spotted him and exclaimed, "Ah, there's the new actor set to play Robb Stark in our series, Lucas Knight." Hearing David's introduction, the cast and crew turned their attention towards Lucas. Among them were Sean Bean, Michelle Fairley, and other cast members of the series. Lucas caught sight of Emilia Clarke and, pausing briefly, he nodded in greeting to the cast and crew, saying, "It's nice to meet all of you." The group returned his nod in greeting. Lucas then asked, "I just found out that I'm the new actor for Robb Stark. Was someone else playing him before me?" At this, some of the group chuckled. Kit Harington replied, "Actually, we've already finished filming the series pilot, but it didn't get a positive response. As a result, we're reshooting 90% of the scenes, and some actors didn't come back for the reshoot." Lucas was a bit surprised by this news. D.B. Weiss then interjected, "Let's not dwell on that. Our flight will be boarding soon, and we're still waiting for a few more cast members to arrive." He appeared to be keen to steer the conversation away from the topic of the original pilot. Kit couldn't help but chuckle, he was well aware that D.B. Weiss and David Benioff were embarrassed by the original pilot. His light-hearted joke about it during a screening had led to a half-serious threat from the showrunners to release the pilot on YouTube, silencing him momentarily. As the other cast members mingled, Kit turned his attention to Lucas, the newcomer. "Hey, I realized I didn't introduce myself earlier. I'm Kit Harington," he said, extending his hand. Lucas returned the gesture with a smile. "Nice to meet you, I'm Lucas Knight." Kit nodded. "So, I heard you're taking on the role of Robb Stark." "Yes," Lucas confirmed, running a hand along his chin. "I've been growing out my beard for the role, getting into character." Kit laughed. "You still look pretty young, though. You're quite different from the original actor for Robb Stark, especially with your blonde hair." Lucas just grinned and leaned in slightly, points towards Emilia. "Well, I'm not the only one. Take a look at her," he whispered, indicating Emilia, who was sporting dark hair. Kit followed his gaze. "What about Emilia?" She's playing Daenerys Targaryen, Lucas shared. Kit stroked his chin thoughtfully. You just got here and already know about her role, hey? Lucas just responded with a smile, though he couldn't disclose how he knew about the casting choices of their current series project due to the fact that the reason he knew was because from a previous life. Well, it's just a guess, Lucas said casually. But if you're curious, why not ask her directly? Kit, puzzled yet intrigued, decided to take Lucas's advice and approached Amelia to inquire about her role in the series. When he returned, his expression was one of sheer surprise. You guessed right. She is indeed playing the blonde Targaryen, Kit confirmed, still in disbelief. Then, with a hint of suspicion, he added, looks like either David or Weiss must have tipped you off about the cast roles, right? Lucas shook his head, maintaining his innocent front. No, I just made a lucky guess. Kit eyed him, half amused yet skeptical. Really? It seems like you were pretty certain about her role. The conversation shifted as Lucas and Kit delved into discussions about the series, occasionally touching upon the controversial original pilot. Kit, with his characteristic humor, made light-hearted jabs at the failed pilot, eliciting restrained smiles from Lucas, who was careful not to let the showrunners catch wind of their banter. As time ticked by, other cast members gradually congregated at the airport, joining the lively group. Finally, it was time to board their flight, destined for Northern Ireland, a land marked by its rugged beauty and historic castles, chosen as the new backdrop for the reshot pilot. The original pilot, with its scenes sprawled across Scotland and Morocco, had failed to resonate with audiences and critics alike, prompting HBO and the showrunners to opt for a complete overhaul. Morocco's scenes were slated for a total redo, while the Scottish landscapes would be replaced by the scenic vistas of Northern Ireland. This change in location was part of a broader effort to revitalize the series, alongside the decision to bring in a new director, signaling a fresh start and a renewed hope for the ambitious project. Chapter 129, Suggestions regarding the role. The airplane landed smoothly at Belfast International Airport. From there, Lucas and the rest of the production team set off for their first filming location. The group was filled with excitement as they made their way to Castle Ward, a journey that took a few hours but was filled with anticipation for the initial scenes of the Seven Kingdoms series. Traveling through the rolling landscapes of Northern Ireland, the air was alive with conversations about the upcoming scenes and the dynamics between characters. Castle Ward, known for its historic architecture and stunning natural scenery, promised to be the ideal setting for the ambitious reshoot of the series pilot. So far, Lucas had only become close to one member of the cast, Kit Harington, who portrays Jon Snow. They hit it off before Lucas excused himself to dive into A Song of Ice and Fire, comparing it with the script he held. In his past life, Lucas had read A Song of Ice and Fire, and from merely watching the series back then, he noticed a significant discrepancy in the portrayal of Robb Stark compared to the book. In the novels, Robb Stark is depicted as a more complex character, with a deeper insight into his strategic mind and the burdens of leadership he faces. Conversely, the series tends to focus more on his romantic relationships and personal dilemmas, somewhat sidelining his tactical acumen and the political aspects of his role. Noticing the discrepancy, Lucas decided to approach the director, Tim Van Patten, who was deeply engaged in a discussion about upcoming scenes with the crew and the showrunners, David and Weiss. Eventually, Lucas found the right moment to share his thoughts without interrupting the ongoing conversation. Lucas, do you have something to add? David inquired as he noticed Lucas approaching, prompting the director and crew members to turn their attention to him. Hi, I wanted to discuss my portrayal of Robb Stark, Lucas started, getting straight to the point. Oh, is that so? We're always open to hearing the actors' perspectives on their roles to enhance the series, DB. Weiss expressed his interest, adding, let's hear what you have to say. Lucas nodded, then began, I've been reading the book on which this series is based, and I noticed that my character, Robb Stark, is portrayed differently. In the novel, Robb is more strategic and reserved, and he's depicted as a strong leader who earns the respect of his men and navigates the complexities of war and politics with a mature sense of duty. I believe that adding these layers to his character on screen could deepen the audience's connection with him. Hearing Lucas's suggestions, the showrunners, director, and crew members exchanged looks. Then, Timothy, the director, spoke up, there's no issue in making Robb Stark's character in the series more aligned with the book. However, the real challenge lies in. He paused, giving Lucas a discerning look, whether an actor can accurately embody the character as he's depicted in the novel. A misstep here could prolong our shooting schedule and increase the likelihood of errors. David and DB. Weiss nodded in agreement, with David adding, exactly. DB. Weiss then turned to Lucas, if you're truly confident in your acting abilities, we could consider your suggestions. Lucas nodded in response, filled with confidence. After all, he had honed his skills meticulously in the mind workshop. While Lucas was engaged in conversation with the showrunners, director, and crew members, the rest of the cast and some crew members shot curious glances their way, intrigued by the discussion about Lucas's suggestions. This sparked whispers among some of the cast members who were familiar with each other. Who's that guy? He's actually suggesting changes to make his character more like the one in the novel. I think what he's saying makes sense. After all, if the character he's supposed to portray doesn't match up with the one from the book, his performance and his scenes might fall flat. Doesn't he look familiar to you? Isn't he the one who performed perfect? As the whispers spread, a few cast members recognized Lucas. After the discussion about his role with the showrunners and director concluded, Lucas moved towards the area where the actors portraying the Stark family were gathered, including Kit Harington, Sean Bean, and the young actors and actresses playing Ned Stark's children. Having already made his introductions earlier, Lucas started discussing their upcoming scenes with them before they all dove into rehearsal. They rehearsed for a while, and then it was time for some of the cast members, including Sean Bean, to break away for the filming of the first few scenes. As for Lucas and Kit, they bided their time until their turn to film. Following Lucas's discussion with the showrunners and director about his character, there were slight adjustments made to the scenes involving Lucas as Robb Stark. Chapter 130, Horse Riding. In Northern Ireland, at Castle Ward, Lucas dyed his hair a rich red-brown to complement his striking blue eyes. This choice was inspired by the book's depiction of the character Robb Stark. Since Lucas already possessed the same intense blue eyes as described for Robb Stark in the novels, there was no need for contact lenses. His natural eye color perfectly matched that of the character's description. After undergoing makeup and donning the costumes provided by the wardrobe department, Lucas headed to the set. Meanwhile, the production team was busy preparing the horses for the cast members' scenes. Upon seeing the horses, Lucas turned to Kit, who was beside him, and asked, "Do you know how to ride a horse?" Kit chuckled before replying, "I've been training to ride since the original pilot was filmed." Then, turning to Lucas, he inquired, "What about you? Will a stunt double take your place in the scenes where we ride together?" Lucas remained silent for a moment. In truth, he had been practicing horseback riding in his mind workshop, gaining at least some practical experience. His time training for Inception had taught him the value of such mental rehearsals, as they significantly enhanced his performance in physically demanding scenes like the rotating hallway. Therefore, Lucas had informed casting directors and showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss that he possessed modest experience in horseback riding. As a result, the production team decided not to assign a stunt double for Lucas in the pilot since there's no scenes where Lucas or other main cast's members needs to ride the horse at a fast speed. Although Lucas lacked real-world experience in horseback riding, he wasn't entirely untruthful about having practical experience. Through immersing himself in the role of Robb Stark and rehearsing in his mind workshop, he had mentally practiced horseback riding extensively. This form of mental rehearsal was sufficient for Lucas to gain confidence in his abilities, almost as though he had been riding horses for years. After all, much of learning takes place in the mind. While Lucas had yet to physically mount a horse, he had vividly experienced it in his mental rehearsals. On the set, the animal wrangler, responsible for the safety and handling of the horses, was guiding them towards Lucas and Kit. The wrangler's role was to help the actors get acquainted with their respective horses, ensuring they felt comfortable and secure before filming the riding scenes. One of the animal wranglers from the production team, Julie Totman, walked over to Lucas and Kit. With a warm smile, she said, "All right, Lucas, Kit, let's get you introduced to your horses. Meet Shadow," she gestured toward a serene, dappled grey horse, "and this is Storm, a robust yet gentle black mare. We'll start with a gentle walk around the fields to help you understand their movements and personality." Kit, already accustomed to the routine, nodded, while Lucas paid close attention, though he felt somewhat prepared due to his mind workshop experiences. Julie continued, "Kit, you've been through this, so you'll pair up with Storm. Lucas, Shadow will be your partner today. She's incredibly patient and ideal for beginners." Lucas replied, "Okay, sounds great. What's the first step?" Despite his mental preparation, Lucas wanted to ensure he understood the real-life basics. With a reassuring smile, Julie instructed, "First things first, walk up to Shadow calmly, let her smell your hand, and then gently stroke her neck. Remember, horses can pick up on how you're feeling, so keep calm and assert confidence." As they began their session, Kit, already forming a bond with Storm, shouted over, "Ease into it, Lucas. Horses are more perceptive than you might realize." Julie nodded in approval and added, "He's right, Lucas. Once you feel at ease, we'll adjust the stirrups to suit your height and I'll guide you through the correct way to mount. Always remember to approach and get on from the left side." They began to lead the horses around the field, and Julie offered more advice: "Hold the reins gently but firmly, and keep your posture upright. Communicate with your horse using soft commands and minimal movements. We're only going for a light walk today, so there's no need to hurry." Lucas, despite his virtual practice with horses in his mind workshop, started to loosen up and really immerse himself in the real-world experience, attentively following Julie's guidance. With a proud smile, Julie cheered, "You're both doing wonderfully. Look at you two, already looking like seasoned riders. Just remember, this is about forming a bond with your horse. Mutual trust and respect are key." Kit responded to Julie's praise with a smile, gently patting Storm on the neck, while Lucas offered a thankful nod. He reached out, allowing Shadow to sniff his hand, blending the guidance from Julie with his own mental practice, which seemed to earn a small sign of approval from the horse. Julie then suggested, "Let's take another walk around the field, allowing you both to become more acquainted and comfortable with the horses before we start riding." However, Kit interjected confidently, "I've ridden Storm before, right? I should be able to ride her again without the warm-up." Julie shook her head and replied, "It's been a few months since you last rode Storm. You need to reacquaint yourself with her." Kit sighed, "All right then," showing a touch of impatience. Julie turned to Lucas and said, "And you, Lucas? The production team mentioned you have some experience with horses. However, it's important to revisit the basics to ensure you are fully prepared." Lucas nodded in agreement and continued to walk with the horses. When the time came to mount, Kit confidently got on Storm and began riding across the fields. Julie turned her attention to Lucas, expecting to have to guide him closely. However, to her surprise, Lucas mounted Shadow with ease and poise, taking hold of the reins expertly. Under Julie's astonished gaze, he rode Shadow with such skill that it looked as if he had been doing it for years. Watching Lucas catch up to Kit in the distance, Julie couldn't help but mutter to herself, "It seems I've underestimated his riding skills." Lucas's ability to blend his theoretical knowledge with practical guidance had clearly paid off, demonstrating a natural talent on horseback. Chapter 131, Troublesome. In the fields, Kit guided his horse across the terrain, maintaining a speed within his comfort zone. However, as he felt the wind against his face while riding Storm, Kit was startled to see someone swiftly catching up. He turned and noticed it was Lucas, who was riding Shadow at a remarkable speed, quickly pulling up alongside him. "Whoa, Lucas! That's reckless! How can you ride so fast?" Kit shouted, astonished by Lucas's sudden approach. "Why so slow, Kit? Haven't you ridden a horse before?" Lucas retorted with a grin, teasingly reminding Kit of his previous boasts about his horse riding skills. "Of course, I've ridden before. But I know for fast-paced scenes, a stunt double takes my place." Kit shouted back, trying to justify his cautious pace. Lucas just laughed, speeding past Kit and leading the way with the wind caressing his face. Seeing this, Kit was left speechless. Under his breath, he murmured, "I never knew Lucas was so daring. Riding at such speed is downright dangerous." Meanwhile, Caroline Benoist and James P. Warren, both animal wranglers on the production team for the pilot, were teaching Sean Bean, Amelia Clark, and other cast members how to ride horses. As Caroline and James covered the basics of horseback riding, their attention was drawn to someone galloping across the field. "Who's that?" Caroline asked, shielding her eyes with her hand in a salute-like gesture, trying to make out the distant rider. "It looks like a skilled rider," James remarked, stroking his chin thoughtfully. Sean Bean, Amelia Clark, Alfie Allen, Ian Glenn, and the rest of the cast and crew watched the impressive horse rider dash across the field at a brisk pace. Sean Bean squinted, trying to identify the distant figure. As the rider came closer, he recognized the person and exclaimed, "Wait, is that Lucas?" Hearing Sean, the nearby cast and crew members turned their attention to him, eager to know if he recognized the rider. Meanwhile, Lucas was reveling in the thrill of riding a horse in real life for the first time. Although he had simulated horse riding experiences in the Mind Workshop, a mental space designed to offer a realistic immersion into different scenarios, he found that the actual experience of riding was incomparably better. He couldn't quite articulate why, but perhaps it was the sheer authenticity of the moment and the realization that this, unlike the simulations, was reality, which added to its allure. David Benioff and D.B. Weiss were in deep conversation with the writers and the director about the upcoming scenes. One of the writers brought up, after Lucas Knight suggested making his character Robb Stark more like the version in the book, other actors started requesting to keep their roles closer to the original material as well. "I understand why the actors would make such requests," one of them said. "The characters as written in the book are richer and more layered. Adhering more closely to these original portrayals could enable the actors to deliver their best performances, as they can draw on a well-defined backstory and complex personality traits." In the meeting, a writer spoke up, addressing the issues raised by the actors' requests. "While adhering to the book has its merits, we must think about the overall story and flow of our series. Directly translating book characters to the screen can lead to slow or disjointed storytelling, given the differences between the two mediums." The discussion then shifted. Initially, if it were just Lucas wanting his character, Robb Stark, to align more with the book, we might have been more accommodating. However, with multiple actors requesting the same, it complicates things, the writer continued. David Benioff weighed in, "There's also the matter of creative liberty. Turning a book into a series gives us the chance to explore the characters in new ways and present fresh perspectives. This adaptation can make the characters more engaging to a wider TV audience." D.B. Weiss added, "Let's also keep in mind our budget and scheduling limits. Some storylines and character developments from the books are just too intricate or challenging to portray within our constraints. By simplifying or tweaking certain elements, we can maintain the narrative's momentum and ensure the production remains viable." A director then interjected, "Moreover, adapting for the screen allows us to address and refine parts of the book that might not have resonated well with readers or were seen as contentious." The producer then reflected aloud, "Our main aim is to craft a unified and captivating series. And regarding Lucas Knight, I've heard good things about him. He's shown considerable talent in independent films. Maybe we could consider his request to keep his character closer to the original book. It could yield some surprising benefits." The room was filled with mild surprise. While Lucas Knight's skills were recognized in indie circles, few anticipated this would be enough to sway a producer to prioritize his artistic vision, potentially setting a precedent that could stir feelings of unfairness among the cast. As the debate continued, Rebecca, assistant to director Tim, entered the room and whispered urgently to him. "What? Someone was recklessly horseback riding!" Tim exclaimed, capturing everyone's attention. "Who was it?" someone asked, amid the rising concern. Tim turned to the producer and David, revealing, "It appears to have been Lucas Knight." He then asked his assistant, were they able to get him to stop? Rebecca nodded, reassuring the room, "Yes, he was fast, but he complied with the Wrangler's instructions and has stopped. He's being lectured by them now." A collective sigh of relief swept through the tent. The last thing they needed was an accident disrupting the tight filming schedule. Chapter 132, Improvised Scene. On set, Lucas had just been admonished by the animal wranglers before the horse, Shadow, was led back to Julie. Sean Bean gave Lucas a consoling pat on the shoulder. "You really shouldn't take such risks. Accidents can happen at any time. The crew is just concerned about your safety and the potential delays it could cause for the shoot." Lucas nodded, sighing. "I understand, I recognize my mistake. But riding a horse is just too much fun." Sean, looking intrigued, asked, "Is it?" Lucas nodded again, a faint smile appearing. "I suppose it is. I'd have wanted to try as well, but sadly, I'm not as adept at horseback riding as you are," Sean said with a chuckle. "You're incredible out there, Lucas. Could you teach me too?" piped up a young voice. Lucas and Sean turned to see it was the 11-year-old actor, Isaac Hempstead Wright. "It is quite something," Lucas agreed with a laugh. "But it looks like I won't be doing it again, let alone teaching anyone." Isaac looked visibly disappointed at Lucas's words. Isaac let out a sigh, a hint of disappointment in his voice. "I was hoping you could teach me how to ride like that with the pony." Lucas, hearing this, offered a reassuring smile. "Don't be too downhearted. At least I'm confident that during the shoot, we'll get a chance to ride together." A little while later, it was time to start filming. Lucas was summoned to the set by David Benioff, relayed through the crew. Making his way over, Lucas was greeted by David, who quipped, "Ah, here comes the horse rider." Lucas laughed, "Looks like word of my little stunt has spread fast." David grinned and clapped Lucas on the back, saying, "Don't worry, I didn't summon you to scold you about that." He took a brief pause before continuing, "Honestly, discovering you're an adept horseman was quite the pleasant surprise. Moreover, about your earlier request to portray Robb Stark as closely as possible to the character in the book, the producers and I have discussed it and agreed," David informed him. Lucas was taken aback with delight, engaging in a deeper conversation with David, before being called onto the set to start filming. The scene in the pilot involves Ned Stark's men capturing a deserter. The stark, cold ambience of the northern wilderness sets the tone as the tension mounts. Sean Bean, as Ned Stark, flanked by his sons and loyal men, confronts the deserter, who trembles with fear and cold, desperate to explain the horrors he has witnessed beyond the wall. Ned Stark's sons were poised atop their horses, with Lucas portraying Robb Stark, while Kit Harington, positioned close by, assumed the role of Jon Snow. Near them, Isaac Hempstead Wright, embodying Bran Stark, watched intently as Ned Stark unsheathed his sword. As Ned Stark solemnly recited the ritual words, he executed the deserter, his sword slicing through the neck of a green human-shaped prop instead. Isaac, portraying Bran, widened his eyes in feigned shock at the scene. Kit, embodying Jon Snow, dismounted his horse and quietly said to Bran, "You did well." Following this, the director called cut, and the crew began setting up for the next scene. The storyline then moved to a hillside where Robb Stark and Jon Snow rode their horses, with Bran trailing on a pony. Lucas, embodying Robb with the stoic and reflective demeanor characteristic of the character in the book, solemnly remarked, "The deserter died bravely." He paused thoughtfully before adding, "At least he had courage." Kit, as Jon, agreed with a nod. "I thought he was quite brave too," he added in a reflective tone. "You're trying to impersonate me again," Robb remarked, catching Jon off guard. The line Lucas, as Robb, had just delivered wasn't in the script. Kit paused, waiting a few seconds for the director to yell cut, but the scene continued, indicating Lucas's improvised line had been accepted. Adapting to Lucas's unexpected move, Kit retorted, "Me, trying to be you? You're full of yourself, Stark." Robb merely shot Jon a look and countered, "Well, if I'm so full of myself, let's see who reaches the bridge first." Kit, portraying Jon, momentarily rolled his eyes as though he found the challenge ludicrous. Then, without warning, he spurred his horse into a quick start. Robb muttered under his breath, "This guy really is a bastard." Skillfully, he accelerated, swiftly closing the gap between him and Jon. Kit glanced back at Lucas, and realizing Robb was gaining on him, he blurted out, forgetting they were still filming, "You'll never catch me." He pushed his horse to go faster, but his efforts fell short of Robb's skill. Meanwhile, Isaac, as Bran, lagging behind on his pony, pushed to catch up. However, his pony couldn't match the speed, especially now that Robb and Jon were racing ahead, increasingly distancing themselves. After the scene ended, Lucas and Kit brought their horse race to a halt and dismounted. "Man, you're seriously something else. You just threw in your own lines back there and the director didn't even blink," Kit said, impressed. Lucas just laughed, shaking his head. "Guess that just means the director was into it," he replied with a grin. As Lucas and Kit walked towards the monitor to review their performance, they were joined by director Tim. Upon seeing Lucas, Tim remarked, "Your performance was quite good, Lucas. However, making Robb stoic yet with a light attitude after this scene diverges a bit from the book." Lucas responded with a smile, "While I based my portrayal on the book, I also added my own interpretation of the character." Tim nodded in understanding as they, along with David and Weiss, who were already reviewing the scene, gathered to go over-review their work. After assessing the scene, the team moved on to shoot a dialogue between Ned and Bran, capturing a relaxed yet focused interaction that highlighted the strong bond between the characters. Next, they shifted to the scene where Bran, Robb, and Jon discover the deceased direwolf and its pups. Throughout the day, certain scenes demanded multiple retakes to capture the nuances and ensure that every angle was just right. Finally, as the day's filming wrapped up, there was a sense of accomplishment among everyone involved. The day had been long and demanding, but the dedication and effort were evident in the quality of the work completed. Chapter 133, record labels. In Northern Ireland, at Castle Ward, Lucas spent 2 weeks filming with the production team. Alongside Kit Harington, he became familiar with other actors like Peter Dinklage and Jack Gleeson. Emilia Clarke and other cast members were also there, observing the reshoots. They participated to understand the setting and dynamics, which helped them prepare their characters, even if they were not directly involved in the scenes being filmed at Castle Ward. This immersion aids in building chemistry and understanding of the series world. Having completed his role in the Seven Kingdoms pilot, Lucas took his leave from the crew, offering heartfelt goodbyes before heading to the Belfast International Airport for his flight to New York. The departure was bittersweet, filled with memories of shared experiences and newfound friendships. Amidst his transition, Lucas received exciting news from his agent. His music album had caught the eye of several prominent record labels, including Big Machine Records, Sub Pop, Republic Records, Atlantic Records, and Merge Records, among others. This unexpected success added an air of anticipation to his journey back to the States, setting the stage for new adventures in his career. Lucas researched several record labels on Google and discovered that Big Machine Records is distributed by Universal Music Group, while Republic Records also falls under the umbrella of Universal Music Group as its parent company. This connection suggests that both labels are significantly influenced by Universal Music Group. Upon reflection, Lucas began to weigh the pros and cons of signing with either of the two labels, considering their deep ties to Universal. Pros of signing with a label connected to Universal Music Group might include the vast network and resources available through Universal, potentially offering better distribution, marketing, and promotional opportunities. There's also the prestige associated with being part of a major label conglomerate, which could attract more attention to his music. However, there are cons as well. The major label system might impose restrictions on artistic freedom and demand more commercial output. There's also the possibility of getting lost among the multitude of artists under the Universal banner, making it harder to stand out and receive personalized attention. Besides pondering this significant career decision, Lucas was also mindful of the upcoming Primetime Emmys nomination announcement in July. In the interim, he decided to focus on preparing for his next project, allowing himself a few days of rest to recharge before diving into his creative endeavors. Lucas stands a strong chance of earning a nomination at the Primetime Emmys, especially given his memorable performance as Dylan in Modern Family. In one standout scene, he sang Perfect, a song that has soared in popularity across North America, currently ranking within the top 35 on the Billboard charts. This remarkable feat alone makes it no surprise if Lucas were to secure a nomination based solely on that episode. As the plane touched down in New York, Lucas disembarked and made his way to his apartment, half expecting to be greeted by his friend Paul. However, he then remembered that Paul had already left for his girlfriend Josephine's place. After the hours-long flight, Lucas took the day to unwind and relax in the comfort of his apartment. The following morning, Lucas met with Vincent in his office at the IAA building in New York. The receptionist led Lucas to Vincent's office, and upon entering, Lucas greeted him with a nod. "It's been a long time." "Yeah," Vincent replied, nodding back. "Have you considered which record label should release your music?" Lucas stroked his chin, pondering, "Can you suggest which record labels I should consider?" Vincent nodded thoughtfully before asking, "Which record labels should we approach first?" Lucas mulled it over for a moment and then decided, "Let's start with Big Machine Records and Republic Records." Acknowledging Lucas's choice, Vincent shared his insights. Big Machine Records. They're renowned for their success in the country music scene. If your music has a country flair, they could be an excellent match for you. Their association with Universal Music Group means your music would benefit from exceptional distribution channels. This could significantly boost your visibility and reach. Plus, their track record of developing artists could offer valuable support and guidance for your career. However, it's worth noting that their genre focus might restrict your exposure if your music crosses into other genres. Vincent then shifted the conversation to Republic Records, looking intently at Lucas. As for Republic Records, their affiliation with Universal Music Group grants them access to an extensive network and substantial resources. This could ensure top-notch distribution and marketing for your album, potentially elevating your music to a global audience. The backing of such a powerhouse could also open doors to collaborations and opportunities otherwise not available. However, it's important to bear in mind that being under a large label umbrella might result in receiving less personalized attention due to the sheer number of artists they manage. Vincent paused, letting the information sink in for Lucas before continuing to outline his thoughts on the other record labels showing interest in Lucas's album, carefully weighing the benefits and challenges each could present. Lucas took a moment to think before responding, honestly, I don't see a problem in signing with either Big Machine Records or Republic Records, since both labels share similar distribution channels. Vincent was slightly taken aback by Lucas's stance. I thought you'd lean towards smaller or indie labels. With a smile, Lucas clarified, to be honest, music isn't really my main passion, acting is where my heart truly lies. I might not dedicate myself to music as intensely as other artists. So, for me, signing with a label that has extensive distribution could mean quicker and wider sales for my songs. Even if these labels don't pay much attention to me personally, that's okay. So, you're saying you're okay with them not being overly involved, as long as your album gets out there? Vincent asked. Upon seeing Lucas nod in agreement, Vincent laughed, are you that desperate for money? Lucas chuckled lightly and shook his head, no, not really. Actually, if my album does well and brings in profits, I plan to invest most of that money into my charity work and make donations. Chapter 134, Business Proposal. Vincent was quite surprised when Lucas revealed his plan to donate a substantial portion of his earnings. Donations. He couldn't help but exclaim. After a brief pause, he continued, look, I'm not stopping you from giving, but at least keep some for yourself. You should prioritize saving money, building your career, and earning more before committing so heavily to charity. It's important to be financially stable first. Hearing this, Lucas sighed, realizing Vincent had a valid point. Then he shifted the conversation, saying, thanks, Vincent. He paused, then added, I know some ways to make more money, and I've got a few ideas. What do you think? Are you in? Lucas asked, looking expectantly at Vincent. What do you mean? Vincent queried. I'm asking if you'd like to be my business partner and join me in these ventures, Lucas explained with a smile. Vincent laughed at the swift change in topic, saying, how did we suddenly jump to business? He chuckled again before adding, all right, tell me about this business. Lucas smiled as he settled into the chair, ready to share his idea. Imagine a service where with just a few taps on your phone, you can summon a ride from anywhere, anytime. No waiting for taxis or dealing with bus schedules. I'm talking about a platform that connects drivers with people who need a ride. Lucas had done his homework, scouring Google and various sources, only to realize that in his new reality, something like Uber, which was founded in 2009 elsewhere, did not exist. This revelation sparked the idea in Lucas that founding such a company could be a groundbreaking opportunity, either on his own or with friends as business partners. Interesting idea. Vincent said, stroking his chin, visibly intrigued and deep in thought. Vincent, still intrigued, leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. Tell me more about this idea, he said. How exactly would it work? And more importantly, how much money are we talking about to bring this idea to reality? Lucas, sensing Vincent's interest, elaborated with enthusiasm. The idea is simple yet revolutionary. We create a mobile app that connects drivers with individuals needing rides. Users can see the cost up front, choose their ride preferences, and track their driver in real time. For drivers, it's an opportunity to earn extra income on their own schedule. He paused for a moment, considering the financial aspect. As for the startup costs, we'd need to invest in app development, marketing, and perhaps initial incentives for early users and drivers. I'm estimating we'll need a significant amount initially, but I'll work on a detailed budget. We should also look into legal requirements and insurance. Vincent nodded, absorbing the information. I see. It sounds promising but also like there's a lot we need to figure out. We'll need a solid plan and maybe some expert advice to make sure we cover all our bases. Lucas agreed, you're right, Vincent. I think the next steps would be conducting thorough market research and developing a detailed business plan. We should also start networking with potential investors and tech developers. What do you say? Vincent chuckled, shaking his head. Although I have my doubts about your ideas, I can't deny their potential, he said with a pause. But aren't you forgetting one small detail? What's that? Lucas inquired. Vincent smiled, you're an actor, and I'm your agent, remember? Lucas laughed in response, so what? Just because I'm an actor and you're my agent, doesn't mean we can't explore business opportunities, right? Shaking his head, Vincent replied, no, there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, by the way, the Modern Family production team contacted me. They're keen to have you back for a guest appearance on the show. Hearing Vincent's news, Lucas's thoughts immediately turned to his favorite show, which was also his first significant project. What's their offer? Lucas asked, settling into his chair with curiosity. They're offering $70,000 per episode, Vincent replied, a smile playing on his lips. What? Lucas expressed his astonishment. That much for me? Vincent shook his head, amusement in his eyes. You're selling yourself short, Lucas. Remember, your perfect performance in episode 4 skyrocketed the show's popularity. That clip of you singing as Dylan? Over 3.4 million views on YouTube. You've brought a lot of new fans to the show with that song. Surprised, Lucas exclaimed, that clip has reached 3.4 million views. He rarely checked YouTube due to his hectic schedule, so the song's popularity was a shock. Curious, he inquired, by the way, how much have I made in royalties from that song? Vincent, with a knowing smile, replied, I was wondering when you'd ask. You've made at least $84,000 from the song. Lucas was genuinely surprised to hear about his earnings, and Vincent added, and your song in the indie film 127 Hours brought in a royalty fee of $44,000. Not bad, hey? Lucas nodded, intrigued by the lucrative side of music. He realized that being involved in music could be quite rewarding, considering the sales and royalties. He mused over the idea that popular songs could indeed bring in hundreds of thousands, if not millions, in royalties. Shifting the conversation, Lucas inquired, regarding the guest appearances on Modern Family, how many episodes will I be in? Vincent replied, I mentioned your tight schedule, so they agreed that 2 or 3 episodes would be fine. Lucas gave a nod, affirming, all right. And Vincent, about my business ideas, I'm not just spitballing here. I genuinely believe they have potential. You'll see. Vincent, listening intently, responded, okay, I hear you. Your business proposal did have its merits. I'll give it some more thought. Chapter 135, Immense Preparation. New York. Lucas has been back from Northern Ireland for a few days now. Aside from catching up with his friends Liza and Leonard, and dedicating some of his time to volunteer at Bellevue Hospital alongside Liza, he's been diving deep into preparations for an exciting new film project he's about to join. Vincent, keeping him in the loop, mentioned that the audition for this project was just around the corner. The project in question is Woody Allen's Midnight in Paris. While Lucas has been lauded for his exceptional performance in 127 Hours, which might have earned him special consideration and treatment in other indie film endeavors, the atmosphere surrounding Woody Allen's Midnight in Paris production is noticeably different. In reality, even though the casting directors and Woody Allen were quite taken with his performance in 127 Hours, an indie film success that raked in $8.1 million in just a few months, this doesn't guarantee Lucas any special treatment. According to Vincent, Lucas isn't the only contender for the role, Owen Wilson is also set to audition. This means that Lucas must prove his worth and stand out, even against an established actor like Owen Wilson. That's precisely why Lucas has been doubling down on his mental preparation, immersing himself deeply in the character of Gil over the last few days. Lucas delves into the depths of his consciousness, finding himself in the creative expanse of his mind workshop, ready to embody Gil from Midnight in Paris. He visualizes himself wandering, lost in thought, meandering through the picturesque streets of Paris. The scene unfolds by a serene riverside, near an archaic bridge, enveloped in the enchanting mystique of the city's night. He checks his watch, the air around him thick with anticipation. As if on cue, the clock strikes midnight, its chimes echoing softly in the distance. At this magical moment, an old Peugeot pulls up beside him. Inside, 2 men and 2 women, the epitome of elegance, are celebrating with champagne, their laughter and chatter filling the air. Doug calls out, "Come on, get in." Gil, bewildered, responds, "Hey." Denise, her voice laced with a French accent, urges, "Let's go, we're late." Gil stammers, "You have the wrong person." Denise insists, "Mais non, pas de tout à les Montes." Gil, attempting to clarify, says, "Look, I'm a little drunk." Doug, impatient, interjects, "Come on, for God's sake, we can't sit here all night." Gil, his interest piqued by the car, remarks, "This is a great old Peugeot. I have a friend in Beverly Hills who has the same one he collects." Denise, undeterred, pulls him, "Let's go. We have so many parties to go to." In this vivid rehearsal within his mind workshop, Lucas embodies Gil with every fiber of his being, living out the scene with a conviction that blurs the lines between reality and imagination. Through this intense mental rehearsal, Lucas not only connects with Gil's character but also prepares himself to bring this performance convincingly in audition. What Lucas appreciates about his mind workshop is its palpable realism. There are no cameras, no green screens, no crew milling about to disrupt his immersion as he delves into his character. This environment significantly enhances his rehearsal, making it feel as though he has truly time-traveled to Paris. At times, Lucas finds himself so engrossed that he begins to question whether he has actually stepped back in time. He wanders beyond his character, exploring the Parisian streets, where people dress in vintage attire, seemingly straight out of the 1920s. Curiosity sometimes leads Lucas to venture beyond Paris, longing to witness the wider world of the 1920s with his own eyes. Despite knowing he's within the confines of his mind workshop, the enchanting illusion of time travel and the allure of a world constructed by his own mind is captivating. However, whenever he strays too far or becomes too enchanted by the illusion of time travel, the simulation falters, resetting him to the start of the film. This realization prompts Lucas to maintain his focus squarely on his role. Though the mind workshop's ability to enchant and mystify him occasionally distracts, he understands the importance of concentrating on perfecting his portrayal of Gil. With the audition looming, Lucas commits to rigorous training and rehearsal, recognizing the significance of his preparation for the opportunity that lies ahead. As Lucas delves deeper into his role as Gil, rehearsing and refining his portrayal, he finds that with each run-through of the film in his mind, he can revisit and reassess his performance. This iterative process allows him to identify any nuances he might have missed and areas where he can enhance his depiction. By repeatedly rehearsing in his mind workshop, Lucas aims to deepen his emotional expression, inject more of his own personality, and make the character more relatable and authentic. He understands that the devil is in the details. Every gesture, every line delivery, and every reaction contributes to building a believable and compelling character. Lucas knows that consistent practice can reveal new layers of Gil, offering insights into his motivations, fears, and desires. Moreover, Lucas repeats the rehearsals to solidify his memorization of the script, ensuring that the words and actions become second nature. This repetition helps him to stay present in the moment, allowing for a more natural and spontaneous performance that resonates with audiences. In addition to his diligent rehearsals in his mind workshop, Lucas also finds time to catch up with Vincent about the business proposal they had previously discussed. In addition to his other commitments, Lucas has been invited for a live radio interview and performance. This opportunity comes on the heels of his song Perfect climbing to the top 24 on the Billboard charts just 2 days ago. The track's rapid ascent has captured the attention of listeners and radio hosts alike, earning Lucas a spot in the studio to share his music and story live on the air. Chapter 136, Z100. It was a new and ordinary day in the bustling city of New York, yet for Lucas, it was anything but ordinary. Today marked a significant milestone. He was scheduled to visit the renowned Z100 radio station for an exclusive interview and to perform his chart-topping single, Perfect. The excitement was palpable as Lucas prepared for the day. Sure, it wasn't an interview with Ellen DeGeneres or a slot on The Tonight Show, but chatting with Elvis Duran on Z100? That was a big deal, and Lucas was buzzing with anticipation. He hailed a taxi and made his way to the iconic Z100 building. As he stepped inside, a blend of nerves and excitement washed over him. Approaching the reception desk, he was greeted by a friendly face. "Good morning. How can I help you?" the receptionist asked with a welcoming smile. "Hi, I'm Lucas. I'm here for the Elvis Duran show," Lucas replied, trying to maintain his composure. "Oh, Lucas. Yes, we've been expecting you. Welcome to Z100. The receptionist exclaimed, her enthusiasm adding to Lucas's growing excitement. She picked up the phone and dialed a number. "Let them know Lucas has arrived," she said into the receiver before hanging up. A few moments later, a person approached Lucas with a warm smile. "Hi, Lucas, I'm Jamie, one of the producers here. We're so thrilled to have you with us today. Follow me, I'll show you to the green room where you can relax before going on air." As they walked, Jamie chatted amiably, breaking down the schedule and what Lucas could expect during his time on air. Lucas followed Jamie through the bustling corridors of the Z100 building, absorbing the vibrant energy that filled the space. They arrived at the green room, a cozy area designed for guests to unwind before going on air. "Make yourself comfortable, Lucas. Can I get you anything? Coffee, Water. Jamie offered, pointing towards a comfortable seating area. Just some water, thanks, Lucas replied. Jamie nodded and handed him a bottle of water before continuing, Elvis is really looking forward to chatting with you. We'll get you on air in about 20 minutes. Feel free to relax here. I'll come to get you when we're ready. Left alone in the green room, Lucas sipped his water and looked around, taking in the memorabilia and pictures of past guests that adorned the walls. As he waited, Lucas went over the lyrics of Perfect in his head, whispering the words to himself. He wanted everything to be just right. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Jamie reappeared with a bright smile. All right, Lucas, it's showtime. Elvis is ready for you. Follow me, and let's head to the studio. Lucas gave a nod, the weight of his guitar a comforting presence in his hands, and followed Jamie to the heart of the action, the studio itself. The moment they entered, the dynamic energy of a live radio show in full swing greeted them. There, behind the mic, was Elvis Duran, a staple voice for so many New Yorkers' mornings. His presence was as large and welcoming in person as it was on air. Ah, here he is. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us this beautiful morning, we've got the incredibly talented Lucas Knight in the studio. Elvis announced with infectious enthusiasm, his voice echoing not just in the studio but across the airwaves of New York. Lucas felt a rush of adrenaline mixed with a touch of disbelief as he stepped into the limelight, his name reverberating through the speakers. Elvis extended his hand with a wide grin. Lucas, welcome to the show, man. We're all thrilled to have you here. Perfect has been climbing the charts, and we can't get enough of it. How does it feel to be the voice behind the hit that's taken over New York? Lucas leaned forward, his smile easy and genuine, radiating a calm enthusiasm. I've got to be honest, I'm feeling incredibly excited right now, he shared, his tone a mixture of awe and gratitude. Elvis chuckled, sharing in the moment's lightheartedness. Incredibly excited, hey? Well, I hope you don't get too excited and forget the lyrics on us. The studio filled with laughter from the crew, breaking the ice and easing the tension. Gathering his thoughts, Elvis then delved deeper. So, Lucas, all of us fans of Perfect remember its debut in Modern Family you, serenading Haley as Dylan. Tell me, what's it like seeing your song not only integrate into such a cherished series but also captivate so many people beyond that? With another smile, this one tinged with a hint of humility, Lucas replied, it's been an incredibly rewarding experience. Honestly, who could have predicted that a song crafted for a sitcom episode would strike a chord with so many? While he maintained a modest demeanor, internally, Lucas wasn't entirely surprised. After all, he had believed in the song's potential from the start, recalling its success from his previous life. Elvis leaned in, his voice reflecting the intrigue of every listener. That moment in Modern Family, where Dylan, that's you, serenades Haley with Perfect, has turned into something special, something iconic. What's it feel like, Lucas, to be part of that moment? Lucas responded thoughtfully, sharing his feelings and experiences related to the episode's impact. Elvis, after processing Lucas's responses, couldn't hide his amusement. Lucas, with Perfect and the scientist that stirring finale from 127 hours if they're given the studio treatment they deserve, you're on track to be a sensation, rivaling the likes of Bruno Mars. Laughter filled the studio, a light moment shared between them and the audience. Lucas, with a modest chuckle, corrected, actually, they've already been recorded. I've got a whole album ready to go. An album? Hold up, rewind. This is news to us, Lucas. Elvis's eyes lit up with shock and curiosity. You've got an entire album lined up? Tell us more, don't leave us hanging. Lucas, smiling broadly, leaned in. Yeah, it's been quite the journey. The album will launch with Big Machine Records. I'm really excited for everyone to hear it. Elvis, visibly impressed and eager, leaned back in his chair, absorbing the news. After delving into the details of Lucas's upcoming album, the moment everyone had been eagerly anticipating arrived. All right, Lucas, Elvis transitioned with a note of anticipation in his voice, I think it's the moment our listeners have been waiting for. How about you give us the live treat of Perfect? Lucas gave a nod, a silent signal of readiness, and then he picked up his guitar. As the first chords of Perfect filled the studio, Lucas's voice carried through, pure and heartfelt, captivating the listeners with every note. Chapter 137, Supporters. As Lucas's voice floated through the airwaves of Z100, a wave of emotion swept through New York. Many of Lucas Knight's fans were quick to spread the word about his appearance on the Elvis Duran Morning Show, sharing links and updates through Yahoo and other social media platforms. As a result, a large number of his followers were clued in and eagerly tuned in. Now, they were all listening, captivated by his interview and live performance. Victoria, one of Lucas's avid fans, sat in her office, her heart swelling with each lyric of Perfect. She had been anticipating this moment since the announcement on Z100 the day before, and there she was, projects from her work set aside, completely immersed in Lucas's live performance. Across the city, others tuned in, sharing Victoria's sentiment. Fans of Lucas Knight, from those who adored him as Dylan in Modern Family to those moved by his performance in 127 Hours, were united in this moment. Some were recording the live session on their phones, intent on capturing the raw, unfiltered emotion of Lucas's rendition, planning to share this piece of history on their social media platforms. In coffee shops, cars stuck in morning traffic, and quiet office corners, New Yorkers paused, letting the melody and words of Perfect wash over them. The lyrics spoke of love, hope, and the beauty of shared dreams, striking a chord with listeners from all walks of life. I found a love, for me. Darling, just dive right in and follow my lead. These words echoed through the bustling city, a poignant reminder of the power of love and commitment, resonating deeply with those listening. As Lucas reached the climax of the song, a hush fell over the people listening. In that moment, under the spell of his voice, New Yorkers shared a collective heartbeat, united in a rare moment of citywide tranquility. Baby, I'm dancing in the dark. With you between my arms. Barefoot on the grass. Tears glistened in the eyes of those moved by the authenticity and tenderness of the performance. Even those unfamiliar with Lucas found themselves moved by his rendition of Perfect. They may have encountered the song before, perhaps hummed by street performers or softly playing in coffee shops, but this time it was different. Hearing Lucas pour his heart into the performance on live radio added a new layer of emotion and connection. As the band in the studio melded their sounds with Lucas's voice, the live performance took on an enhanced quality. The music filled the room, and the harmonious blend of instruments and vocals elevated the moment, making it more poignant and memorable for everyone listening. As the final notes of Perfect resonated through the studio, Elvis Duran leaned into his microphone, his voice filled with genuine admiration. Lucas, that was absolutely incredible. Your voice, your emotion, the way you just poured your heart into Perfect, it's no wonder this song has touched so many. It's performances like this that remind us of the power of music. He paused, ensuring his words sank in not just for Lucas, but for everyone tuned in. Folks, we've been lucky to witness something truly special today. The song felt really different when performed live by its composer. Elvis then turned his attention back to Lucas, a warm smile in his voice. Lucas, thank you for being here with us today, for sharing your incredible talent and your journey. We're all eagerly waiting for your album under Big Time Machine Records, and if Perfect is any indication, we're in for something amazing. He let the moment breathe, allowing listeners to savor the afterglow of the performance. Lucas, any final words for your fans listening right now? Lucas fiddled with the microphone, his expression thoughtful as he laid the guitar aside. I just want to say a massive thank you to all my fans out there. This whole journey has been somewhat surreal for me. Acting has always been at the forefront of what I do, and music, well, music has always played second fiddle. But to see how many of you have connected with my songs, felt something through my music, it's beyond special. Your support, whether for my acting or these unexpected musical moments, truly means the world to me. I can't thank you enough for being such a big part of this journey. After Lucas shared his heartfelt gratitude, Elvis took the moment to wrap up the segment. There you have it, folks. Lucas Knight. Be sure to remember that name and keep an eye out for his upcoming album. Lucas, it's been an absolute honor having you. He continued with warmth, and to our listeners, keep the love and music flowing. Have an incredible day, and remember, you heard it right here on Z100. Lucas, all the best, and we're eagerly awaiting your return. As the interview concluded, Lucas's fans felt a mix of emotions. While they were sad to see his time on Z100 come to an end, there was also a sense of longing. After his remarkable debut in 127 Hours and his memorable role in the first season of Modern Family, fans were left wondering when they'd next see Lucas. His absence from Modern Family Season 2 had been felt, and they were eager for his next project. Meanwhile, fans who recorded Lucas's performance started uploading their videos to YouTube. Initially, these clips garnered only a handful of views, but they were slowly gaining traction. Simultaneously, news about Lucas's upcoming album with Big Machine Records was making rounds, thanks to his dedicated fans spreading the word on Yahoo and other platforms. Undoubtedly, Lucas's appearance on the Elvis Duran morning show on Z100 played a pivotal role in drumming up excitement for his new album. It was a crucial moment that connected him with his audience and sparked further interest in his musical journey. Chapter 138, Woody's Perspectives. On Yahoo forums and community pages, Lucas Knight's fans were abuzz with excitement. Posts and threads started popping up, each sharing different snippets of information and speculation about his upcoming album under Big Machine Records. One user wrote, "Just heard Lucas Knight's live performance on Z100. Did anyone else catch that? He mentioned an album coming out under Big Machine Records. Can't wait to see what he's got in store." Another fan chimed in, "I've been following Lucas since his Modern Family days. Knowing he's got an album on the way is super exciting. Any ideas on the release date?" The excitement was palpable as fans filled the threads, their enthusiasm bubbling over for Lucas. The community came alive, threading their support and admiration for him into every conversation. They shared clips of his stunning performance on Z100, recounted their favorite moments, and engaged in lively discussions about what his upcoming album might sound like, including potential tracks. A passionate supporter wrote, "Let's rally behind Lucas. Let's get everyone watching his Z100 performance and buzzing about his new album. It's high time the world recognizes his musical prowess, not just his acting skills." Another fan expressed eager anticipation, "Did Lucas include the scientists in his album? I'm so curious I can hardly wait." Back in Manhattan, Lucas was on his way to the rented office space of Graveyard Productions for his big audition for Woody Allen's Midnight in Paris. The atmosphere inside was charged with the creative tension typical of such settings. Woody Allen himself was there, his demeanor blending his signature thoughtful introspection with an undercurrent of quirky humor, carefully observing each audition. Finally, it was Lucas's turn. As he introduced himself, the casting directors seemed intrigued, a spark of interest lighting up their eyes. "Ah, Lucas, welcome," Woody started, settling comfortably in his chair. "Your work in 127 hours caught my attention. There's no denying the intensity you brought to that role. And that's exactly why I wanted to see you here, to consider you for the lead in Midnight in Paris." But, he paused, and even though Woody appeared frail, Lucas couldn't help but feel a wave of pressure wash over him. Woody continued, "The raw, desperate intensity of 127 hours, it's compelling, but it's not what this project needs. You see, my approach, especially for Midnight in Paris, leans towards the lighter side of things." He gestured lightly with his hands, "I like to explore the brighter, albeit complex, layers of life. Reality can be harsh, indeed, but I believe in showcasing the resilience of the human spirit, the beauty in overcoming challenges, not just the darkness and despair. We dwell on the light in the shadows, not just the shadows themselves." Hearing that, Lucas couldn't stop the words from slipping out, almost without thinking, "We dwell on the light in the shadows, not just the shadows themselves." In the snug, office-like audition room, his muttered words were clearly audible to everyone. Woody picked up on this and asked, "What do you think? Am I right?" With a light chuckle, Lucas responded, "Yeah, I suppose you are." He had seen Midnight in Paris before and remembered the mixed feelings it left him with, particularly how Gil seemed to overlook his fiancée's infidelity. The ending, where Gil breaks up with his fiancée and then unexpectedly meets another woman, had felt somewhat off to him. The movie centers closely on Gil, almost ignoring his fiancée's cheating, subtly suggesting her infidelity through her actions and demeanor. It leaves the audience to piece together the truth, painting a picture of betrayal without explicitly addressing it. Yet, this subtlety, designed to reveal the truth through the actors' performances, ironically made the characters seem a bit flat or one-dimensional to him. Woody leaned forward, steepling his fingers with a curious tilt of his head. "Lucas, given your insights, I'm intrigued. How do you interpret Gil's character in this project Midnight in Paris? What's your take on his personality, his motivations?" Lucas cleared his throat, collecting his thoughts. "Well," he began, "I see Gil as a nostalgic dreamer, someone caught between the golden age fantasies of the past and the stark realities of the present. He's romantic, idealistic, but also somewhat disillusioned with his own time. This disconnect drives him to find solace in the past, where he believes life was more meaningful and art was truly appreciated. Yet, there's an underlying escapism in Gil's character, a reluctance to confront the unsatisfying aspects of his current life and relationships. It's this blend of whimsy and wistfulness, combined with a genuine love for the arts, that defines Gil for me. Woody nodded thoughtfully, absorbing Lucas's words. Interesting perspective, Lucas. You've given this a lot of thought. It's that mix of idealism and disillusionment that makes Gil's journey compelling, wouldn't you agree? Lucas nodded in agreement before adding, absolutely, but I also think Gil's character could evolve more visibly throughout the story. While his nostalgia and romanticism are captivating, there could be a clearer arc showing his growth. For instance, Gil could start by being more passive and disenchanted with his own era, but then gradually become more engaged and inspired by his experiences in the past to make changes in his present. It's not just about escaping to a better time but learning from it, realizing that he has the power to shape his own reality and create the meaning he seeks in his own life. Hearing Lucas's thoughts, Woody and the casting directors shared a quick, meaningful look, then nodded in agreement. You've got a point there, Woody remarked, an appreciative tone in his voice. Your interpretation certainly opens up new avenues for Gil's character. Chapter 139, Improved Immersion. After Lucas's interview and other preliminaries, Woody said, now that we've heard your take on the character and your ideas for Gil, let's see you become him. Lucas nodded, took a deep breath to center himself, then effortlessly transitioned into the role of Gil. This swift transformation captured the attention of Woody and the casting directors. Indeed, diving into a character is no small feat, and it's something only truly skilled actors can accomplish. Yet, Lucas was able to immerse himself so quickly it was impressive. After all, most actors need at least a few minutes, if not hours, to fully delve into their roles. Lucas positioned himself at the marked spot, script in hand, yet his eyes never once darted down to its pages, a clear sign he had committed every line to memory. Woody and the casting directors watched, their curiosity piqued as the audition began. An audition reader, standing off to the side, assumed the role of Hemingway, setting the scene with a gruff inquisitiveness. What are you writing? The reader inquired, his tone devoid of emotion. Yet, Lucas, immersed in his role as Gil, infused the question with an imagined curiosity. A novel, Lucas responded, embodying Gil's blend of hopeful aspiration and cautious restraint. As Lucas delved deeper into the character, the world around him seemed to shift through his perception. The audition reader, initially delivering Hemingway's lines in a flat, uninspired manner, gradually transformed in Lucas's mind. No longer just a voice from the sidelines, the reader became the embodiment of Hemingway as Lucas had envisioned him in the countless rehearsals of his mental workshop. This shift, though subtle, helped Lucas sink even further into the depths of his character. About what? Hemingway prodded further. A man who works in a nostalgia shop, Gil offered, a touch of wistfulness in his tone. What the hell's a nostalgia shop? Hemingway's bafflement was palpable. Lucas, embodying Gil's gentle enthusiasm, explained, where they sell old things memorabilia. Does that sound terrible to you? Hemingway's reply came firm and unwavering, no subject is terrible if the story is true. If the prose is clean and honest and if it affirms courage and grace under pressure. The room could almost feel Lucas's heart rate spike as Gil ventured into vulnerability. Would you do me the biggest favor in the world? I can't even ask. What? Hemingway's interruption was swift. Would you read it? The hope in Gil's voice was fragile, almost fearful. Your novel. It's only about 400 pages if you could just give me your opinion. The blunt dismissal was unexpected, my opinion is I hate it. You do. Gil's disappointment was palpable. If it's bad I'll hate it because I hate bad writing, and if it's good I'll be envious and hate it all the more. You don't want the opinion of another writer. Gil's rebuttal revealed Lucas's depth in the character, but there's no one I really trust to evaluate it. Writers are competitive. I could never compete with you. You're too self-effacing, it's not manly. If you're a writer, declare yourself the best writer, but you're not the best as long as I'm around. Unless you want to put the gloves on and settle it. No, that's okay. Gil's reluctance was clear, yet a glimmer of hope remained. I won't read your novel, but I'll tell you what I'll do. Yes. Gil perked up, eager. I'll bring it over to Gertrude Stein. She's the only one I trust to read my work. No one discovers new talent like Gert, whether it's poetry, painting, music. She'll tell you if you have a book or not. The possibility of having Gertrude Stein read his novel brought a glow to Gil's, to Lucas's face. You could have Gertrude Stein read my novel. Give it to me. I have to get it. It's at the hotel. She gets back from Spain tomorrow. Lucas's eyes widened with genuine excitement, his hands trembling slightly to reveal the surge of emotion coursing through him. I'm so thrilled, he began, placing a hand over his heart as if to calm its racing beats. My heart is beating. He took a step forward, his eyes shining with gratitude and disbelief. I'll go home and get it, he said, turning slightly as if ready to dash off that very moment, his movements brisk and filled with purpose. He then paused, turning back to face Hemingway, his hands reaching out in a gesture of offering and plea. I'll give it to you. I can't tell you what this means to me. The intensity of the moment seemed to swell within him. To have Gertrude Stein read my novel, he trailed off, momentarily lost in the overwhelming prospect. Regaining his composure, he repeated with heartfelt sincerity, thank you, thank you. His head bowed slightly, a universal sign of deep respect and gratitude, as he slowly backed away, each step heavy with the weight of the opportunity before him. After some time, Lucas's audition came to a close. As he slowly disentangled himself from the depths of his character, it felt as though he was emerging back into reality, only to find Woody and the casting directors observing him intently. Woody broke the silence, his voice carrying a note of genuine admiration. I won't sugarcoat it, your performance was impressive. His praise was measured, suggesting a cautious optimism. However, he continued, I'd like to see more from you before making any final decisions. Lucas nodded, his expression one of understanding and appreciation for the feedback. Initially, Woody was under the impression that while Lucas had delivered a compelling performance in 127 hours, he might not be able to stand toe-to-toe with seasoned actors like Owen Wilson, who brought a wealth of experience beyond the intense, harrowing portrayal Lucas had shown in 127 hours. However, witnessing Lucas's performance today complicated matters significantly. Woody and the casting directors were faced with a tough decision, knowing they had to choose between Lucas Knight and Owen Wilson for the role of Gil. This newfound dilemma reflected the unexpected depth and versatility Lucas brought to the table, challenging their initial perceptions and making the casting choice all the more difficult. Chapter 140, Dilemma and Decision. While Lucas was auditioning for the role of Gil at an office rented by Gravier Productions, he also made time to volunteer at the Bellevue Hospital's cancer ward alongside Liza. Jonathan, a young boy, couldn't hide his excitement as he said, Lucas, I'm really excited about your album. It wasn't just Jonathan, the anticipation was palpable among the others too. Oh? You know about my album? Lucas asked, surprised. James, another youngster, chimed in, of course. We caught your interview and live singing on the radio. Following James's remark, the rest of the ward shared their enthusiasm for Lucas's upcoming album. Lucas could only offer a wry smile as he and Liza exchanged knowing looks. After spending time with the children alongside Liza, Lucas knew that this would be his last day volunteering with her. He was about to get very busy, and he understood that he couldn't commit to volunteering as regularly as he wished. That's why Lucas decided to donate a generous sum to help the children in their fight. As a parting gesture, he sang songs for them, indifferent to whether the nurses were recording. Liza, on her part, harbored mixed feelings, knowing this was the last time Lucas would be able to volunteer. After Lucas finished his impromptu concert, the children, innocent as they were, sensed something was amiss. When they found out it was his last visit, sadness washed over them, some even cried. Lucas, feeling a tug at his heartstrings, could only sigh in resignation. Despite the heavy atmosphere, Lucas made a promise to visit again, though less frequently. This small reassurance brought a glimmer of happiness to the children's faces. In the audition room, Woody and the casting directors were deep in discussion about the casting for Midnight in Paris. For Rachel McAdams, Woody began, I see her as the perfect Inez. She's got that strong, charismatic presence that can really bring out the character's sophisticated yet somewhat abrasive personality. One of the directors nodded, adding, yes, her range is impressive. She's proven she can handle complex roles with grace. Plus, her chemistry with other actors is always spot on. The conversation shifted to Marion Cotillard. Marion, said another director, brings that enchanting, mysterious quality we need for Adriana. She embodies the charm and allure of a bygone era, which is perfect for this role. Woody smiled in agreement. Exactly. Her performance can effortlessly transport us back in time. She has that timeless beauty and depth that's crucial for the part. The team then turned their attention to Tom Hiddleston. Tom could bring a fresh, yet classic, energy to Scott Fitzgerald, one director suggested. He has the elegance and wit needed to portray such a literary figure. Absolutely, Woody chimed in. His versatility as an actor allows him to adapt seamlessly into different periods and characters. He'd give us the charismatic yet troubled essence of Fitzgerald. They also discussed the casting of Corey Stoll. For Ernest Hemingway, we need someone who can portray both the robust masculinity and the underlying vulnerability, said Woody. Corey has that rugged persona but also the ability to reveal the character's more sensitive side. One of the directors added, his performance can really highlight the complexities of Hemingway. He has the physicality and the intensity, but he can also handle the subtleties and depth of the character. As the casting team neared the final decision for the role of Gil, a hush fell over the room. Woody broke the silence, his tone contemplative. So, who stands out to you all? Owen Wilson or Lucas Knight? One of the casting directors, shaking his head slightly, spoke up, I really like Owen Wilson. His look just screams Gil to me, his eyes, his whole demeanor. But when it comes to the acting itself, the nuances, the gestures, Lucas Knight is on another level. His ability to remember lines as if they're part of him is remarkable. And despite being only 20, Lucas has shown immense talent. Another director agreed, adding, exactly. Owen Wilson brings experience and a known presence in Hollywood. But for someone fresh, brimming with talent and dedication, Lucas Knight stands out. Woody, his face a tapestry of complex emotions, wait in, I see what you mean. Owen brings a familiar, comforting element that audiences love. But there's something about Lucas, his passion, his raw talent. It's the kind of fresh energy that could really breathe life into Gil in a new, exciting way. His eyes scanned the room, gauging the reactions to his words, a mix of apprehension and curiosity written on his face. The casting directors fixed their gazes on Woody, understanding that while they had all expressed a preference for Lucas Knight for the role of Gil, the final decision rested with Woody. Despite Gravier Productions being a major financier for the film, everyone in the room knew that the ultimate creative authority was with Woody. Woody, feeling the weight of their stares, let out a sigh before finally speaking. Call Owen Wilson, he said. At first, the casting directors assumed this meant Owen Wilson had been chosen for the role of Gil. But then Woody continued, tell him he hasn't been selected for the role of Gil. Apologize to him for me. Hearing this, the casting directors exchanged looks of pleasant surprise, realizing that Lucas Knight was indeed their new Gil. Lucas had just said farewell to Liza after their time volunteering at the Bellevue Hospital's cancer ward when his iPhone started to ring. Recognizing the incoming number as belonging to the team from the Midnight in Paris film project, he quickly answered. Lucas was thrilled to learn that he had been chosen for the role of Gil. Lucas wasn't entirely shocked by the news. After all, he had a cheat, his mind workshop, a unique method he used to immerse himself deeply into his characters and refine his performance rapidly. With his dedication and the intensive preparation in his mind workshop, he felt it wasn't too surprising that the casting team and Woody preferred his portrayal over the seasoned Owen Wilson. Chapter 141, Doubtful CO Stars. After the casting for Midnight in Paris was finalized, Lucas received a call from the team, instructing him to head to a specific location for a meet and greet with the cast and crew. The space was a floor rented by Gravier Productions, already buzzing with activity when Lucas arrived. Tom Hiddleston and Corey Stoll were among the early birds, already deep in conversation about their roles. Tom, with his characteristic charm, was explaining his take on Scott Fitzgerald. I see Scott as this vibrant soul, tragically caught between his literary genius and his personal demons. It's like he's constantly at a party in his own mind, isn't it? Corey, leaning against a nearby table with a relaxed stance, chimed in about Ernest Hemingway. Yeah, and Hemingway's like the tough guy at that party, right? But beneath that rugged exterior, there's a vulnerability. He's a man of few words, but each one packs a punch. Corey's delivery was dry, yet there was a warmth in his tone that hinted at the depth he saw in Hemingway. Tom laughed, nodding in agreement. Exactly. Though, I imagine Hemingway wouldn't have much patience for Fitzgerald's, let's say, flair for the dramatic. Corey shot back with a grin, oh, definitely. He'd probably challenge Scott to a boxing match to settle their differences. His imitation of Hemingway's gruffness drew a round of laughter from those nearby. Lucas couldn't help but smile as he observed the lively discussion. Making his entrance more noticeable, he immediately caught the attention of the crew and the early arrivals, Tom and Corey. However, since many there hadn't yet recognized him as part of the cast, specifically the actor chosen to play the protagonist, Gil, there was a moment of uncertainty. It was Patricia DiCerto, one of the casting directors, who noticed Lucas and warmly greeted him. "Oh, Lucas! You are here," she exclaimed with a smile, to which Lucas nodded in acknowledgement. Realizing that not everyone was aware of Lucas's role, Patricia decided to introduce him to the group. "Guys, this is Lucas Knight. He's the actor who will be playing our main character, Gil." The announcement took a moment to sink in. Tom, Corey, and the rest of the crew looked genuinely surprised, a reflection of Lucas's youthful appearance. The idea of such a young actor taking on the lead role in a project helmed by Woody was unexpected but pleasantly so. Lucas extended a warm and respectful greeting to the crew, Tom and Corey. His gaze lingered a bit longer on Tom Hiddleston, admiration clear in his eyes. Standing face to face with the actor he considered the best Loki was a surreal moment for Lucas. The opportunity to work alongside someone he had dreamed of meeting felt like a dream come true, especially given his admiration for Tom in his previous life. As Lucas neared Tom and Corey, ready to start forming professional bonds with his co-stars, it felt only natural to engage in conversation and get to know them better. Tom was the first to express his surprise. "I must say, Lucas, I was quite surprised to see someone of your age landed the role of Gil. It's quite the feat," he said, his voice tinged with genuine curiosity. Corey, leaning in, added, "Yeah, it's not every day you see fresh talent stepping into such pivotal roles. Woody's got a keen eye, that's for sure." His tone was encouraging, but beneath the surface, there was a trace of skepticism. Corey wondered how someone so young could embody the depth and complexity required for the role of Gil. Lucas smiled, acknowledging their surprise with a humble nod. "Thank you, Tom, Corey. I'm honestly just as surprised to be here among such talented actors. I have a lot to learn, and I'm really looking forward to diving into this role and hopefully, doing it justice. Working with you and learning from your experiences will be an incredible opportunity for me." Hearing Lucas's humble and respectful reply, Tom and Corey felt a mix of flattery and slight embarrassment. While they had praised Lucas, their underlying doubts about his capabilities had made them feel a bit conflicted. Tom, recovering quickly, offered a warm smile. "I'm really looking forward to working with you too, Lucas." Corey, nodding in agreement, added, "Same here." After exchanging these pleasantries, Lucas spent a bit more time chatting with both actors. As they continued their conversation, Tom and Corey's curiosity about Lucas's approach to his role grew. Tom, tilting his head slightly, asked, "Lucas, we've shared a bit about our characters, but we're quite intrigued. How do you see Gil? What's your take on him?" Corey, leaning forward, added, "Yeah, I'd love to hear your perspective on your character." Lucas paused, collecting his thoughts before responding. "Well," he started, "I envision Gil as a man trapped between two realms." He shared the same interpretation he had given to Woody and the casting directors during his first audition, but this time, he enriched his explanation with more personal reflections on the character. Tom and Corey listened with keen interest, nodding along as Lucas delved deeper into his understanding of Gil. They had asked about his interpretation not just out of curiosity, but also as a subtle test to gauge whether Lucas truly grasped the essence of the role and if he was indeed the right fit for it. Chapter 142, Acquaintances. After listening to Lucas's detailed interpretation of Gil, Tom and Corey exchanged impressed glances before turning back to Lucas. Tom leaned in, a smile playing on his lips. "Lucas, I must say, your understanding of Gil really shows. It's clear you've thought deeply about who he is and what he's searching for. That's crucial for bringing authenticity to the screen." Corey, nodding in agreement, added, "Yeah. It's evident you're not just taking this role at face value. Understanding the heart of Gil like that, I'm looking forward to seeing how you bring these insights into your performance." Lucas responded with a warm smile, "I'm equally excited to see both of your performances." The conversation between Lucas and his co-stars, Tom and Corey, continued to flow naturally. Gradually, Lucas began to feel more comfortable and familiar with his new colleagues. Eventually, Woody arrived and greeted everyone on set. Spotting Lucas mingling with Tom and Corey, he made his way over and gave Lucas a friendly pat on the shoulder. "Ah, Lucas, I see you've already ingratiated yourself with the high society of our cast. Don't let these two corrupt you too much, eh?" Tom and Corey couldn't help but chuckle at Woody's light-hearted jest, appreciating the director's humor. Lucas grinned and responded confidently, "I won't be corrupted, don't worry." He paused for effect, then added playfully, "Besides, I doubt these two are corrupting enough to handle me." Tom and Corey burst into laughter at Lucas's remark. Tom leaned in, teasing, "Oh, not enough to corrupt you? Well, we'll just have to see about that, won't we?" Corey, with a chuckle, leaned in, "Seems we're too gentle, not living up to our roles as corruptors, hey? All right, we'll just have to show you the real perks of our circle. Consider it a challenge, Lucas." At that moment, Woody jumped in with a playful remark, "Well, I wonder if our lovely yet-to-meet female CO stars might shake things up a bit. Perhaps they'll have better luck in, shall we say, enlightening you, where these two gentlemen have come up short." Lucas responded to Woody's teasing with a knowing smile and a nonchalant, "We'll see." The laughter shared between Woody, Tom, and Corey lightened the atmosphere considerably. Woody's playful jesting upon his entrance was more than just humor, it was a deliberate effort to break the ice and foster camaraderie among the cast, an essential element for on-screen chemistry. After the initial round of jokes and gentle ribbing, the conversation naturally transitioned to the film project. They delved into discussions about their respective characters, with Woody, as both writer and director, offering his unique insights and guiding the conversation to deepen their understanding and connection to their roles. As Lucas, Tom, and Corey were among the first to arrive, the room had a quiet, focused energy, which was gradually filled as more cast members began to trickle in. Lee Seydoux, Carla Bruni, Alison Pill, and Kurt Fuller arrived intermittently, bringing new waves of greetings and brief exchanges of pleasantries. With each new arrival, the group expanded, the energy in the room grew, and the dynamics shifted subtly. Woody, Lucas, Tom, and Corey welcomed each new face, integrating them into the growing ensemble, further knitting the fabric of the cast's camaraderie. A short while later, the French actress Marion Cotillard made her entrance, warmly greeting the crew. Her eyes scanned the room, taking in the sight of the assembled cast, about 8 or so mingling and getting acquainted. She was preparing for a casual introduction, as was her custom in new projects, to break the ice and start forming connections. However, her gaze halted on Lucas, standing beside Woody, causing a flicker of surprise to cross her face. She approached, pushing her sunglasses up slightly to get a better look, and exclaimed, "Lucas." Lucas noticed Marion's focused attention and greeted her with a smile. "Nice to see you again, Ms. Cotillard." Standing up, they exchanged a friendly cheek kiss in greeting. "Oh, Lucas. How are you? I didn't expect to work with you again," Marion said, her voice laced with genuine surprise and delight. "Haha, it's a pleasant surprise for me too," Lucas responded warmly. The exchange caught the attention of Woody and the rest of the cast, who couldn't help but notice the pre-existing rapport between Lucas and Marion. Woody, intrigued, commented, "It seems you two already know each other." Lucas and Marion nodded, with Marion turning to Woody to greet him properly, "Nice to meet you, Mr. Allen." She then glanced back at Lucas, "Yes, Lucas and I collaborated on a previous project." Woody acknowledged this with a nod, choosing not to probe further into their past work, keeping the focus on the excitement of the new project at hand. After Lucas and Marion caught up, the atmosphere in the room grew even more convivial. The cast members continued to mingle, their conversations weaving between personal introductions and discussions about the film project spearheaded by Woody. Lively discussions filled the air, with the cast sharing stories from previous projects and interpretations of their upcoming roles. Woody, offering insights into the script and characters, answering questions, and sharing his vision for the film. His guidance helped deepen the actors' understanding of their roles and the overall narrative, fostering a collaborative spirit among the cast. As the gathering continued to warm up, Rachel McAdams made her entrance, offering friendly greetings to the crew before joining the cast and engaging in conversation with Woody. Not long after, Adrian Brody walked in. He seemed pleasantly surprised to see Lucas among the group and approached him with a warm, curious look. "Lucas, didn't expect to see you here," he said with genuine interest, offering a handshake that quickly turned into a friendly pat on the shoulder. Watching the easy camaraderie between Lucas and Adrian, Woody was intrigued by the apparent pre-existing connection. "Looks like you're familiar with Lucas as well," he observed, addressing Adrian with a raised eyebrow of curiosity. Adrian, still smiling, turned to Woody. "Yes, we crossed paths at the Sundance Film Festival. Lucas really stood out with his performance in 127 Hours. It wasn't in the competitive lineup, but it definitely didn't go unnoticed. Woody, visibly surprised by this new piece of information, nodded thoughtfully. "I see," he said, allowing his gaze to drift back to Lucas. Woody found himself re-evaluating his initial impression of the young actor. First, Marion Cotillard, and now Adrien Brody too. It appears I've somewhat underestimated Lucas. Chapter 143, Off to Paris. In New York, Lucas made a concerted effort to get to know the crew and cast members of the film project. He understood that building positive relationships was crucial for creating a supportive and collaborative environment. Lucas recognized that harmony among the team would not only make the day-to-day filming process more enjoyable but also enhance the overall quality of their work. Lucas's time in the industry, whether on indie film sets, television series, or blockbuster productions like Inception, had taught him the critical importance of rapport and mutual respect among cast and crew members. It was a lesson he carried into his latest project, understanding that such camaraderies could significantly enhance the creative process and end result. In the recent days leading up to their departure for Paris, Lucas had engaged deeply with his co-stars, discussing the nuances of their roles and the broader vision for the film, all within the spaces rented by Gravier Productions. These rehearsals and discussions had been invaluable, not just for character development but also for building a sense of unity and understanding among the cast. The team had been making diligent use of a rented floor, transforming it into a versatile rehearsal space where they could run through scenes, refine their performances, and most importantly, test the chemistry between characters in various settings. Currently, Lucas, along with his fellow cast members, was deeply engaged in rehearsing mock-up scenes. Woody and the essential crew members closely watched their performances through monitors, analyzing every detail. In the scene, Michael Sheen, embodying Paul, offered with a relaxed charm, "Carol and I are going to go dancing. We've heard of a great place. Interested?" His invitation hung in the air, filled with the promise of a carefree night. Rachel, portraying Inez, eagerly accepted, her voice bubbling with excitement, "Sure." Her demeanor radiated the anticipation of the evening's potential. Lucas, channeling Gil, brought a contrast to the light-hearted planning with a hesitant, "I don't want to be a party pooper, but I just want some fresh air." His posture, a blend of apology and firmness, perfectly encapsulated Gil's internal struggle between social expectations and personal needs. Inez, slightly teasing yet affectionate, tried to sway him, "Oh, come on. Although, if you're just going to sit there and obsess over where the fire exits are." Her words, teasing yet laced with a hint of frustration, revealed the depth of their relationship. Nina Arianda, as Carol, added with a light-hearted offer, "If Gil doesn't want to go, I'll share Paul with you. I'm very democratic. And he's a marvelous dancer." Her offer was breezy, filled with an easy generosity that lightened the mood. Lucas, maintaining Gil's introspective nature, declined with a courteous, "If it's okay with you, I'd really just like a little walk and go to bed. We can do it another night." The gentle, almost weary smile he offered spoke volumes of his character's desire for solitude. Inez, after a moment of internal debate, sought validation, "Well, I can go, right?" Her query, a mix of independence and concern for Gil's feelings, showcased her complex relationship with him. Lucas, with a small yet decisive nod, assured, "You go." His simple farewell, filled with understanding and a touch of resignation, perfectly concluded the exchange. As the cast, including Rachel McAdams, Nina Arianda, and Michael Sheen, went through their mock-up scenes with Lucas, they found themselves genuinely surprised by his acting prowess. Initially, there was a shared skepticism among them, they doubted whether Lucas could match their level of experience. However, as the scenes unfolded, their doubts began to dissipate. It wasn't just them. Tom Hiddleston, Corey Stoll, and other previously skeptical cast members also started to see Lucas in a new light. They realized that Lucas hadn't just lucked into his role, he had genuinely earned it through his talent and hard work. Meanwhile, Marion Cotillard and Adrien Brody were not surprised by Lucas's performance. Marion, having previously worked with Lucas, knew his capabilities firsthand. She had seen how well he could hold his own alongside seasoned actors like Leonardo DiCaprio, not just blending in but standing out. Adrien Brody, on the other hand, had been convinced of Lucas's talent ever since he saw his performance in 127 Hours. Having witnessed Lucas's ability to convey deep emotion and complexity, Adrien didn't have the slightest doubt about his skills. Lucas spent his days deeply immersed in film discussions, rehearsals, and mock-up scenes with his fellow cast members. This period was an intense time of learning and collaboration, allowing everyone, especially Lucas, to dive deep into the intricacies of their characters and the narrative landscape of Midnight in Paris. Lucas, always keen and observant, engaged actively in discussions, asking insightful questions and sharing his interpretations, which added depth to their collective understanding of the film. He made it a point to spend extra time with Rachel McAdams, Nina Arianda, Michael Sheen, and others, delving into their characters' relationships and dynamics, ensuring that every interaction would translate authentically on screen. Rehearsals were a daily ritual. Lucas and his co-stars would run through their scenes, experimenting with different tones and movements under Woody's watchful eye. The mock-up scenes, in particular, provided valuable insights. Each run-through was a chance to test their chemistry and timing, with Woody and the key crew members providing feedback. Lucas's commitment was evident in these mock-ups. He would often stay late to discuss his performance with the director, seeking ways to enhance his portrayal of Gil. As the days in New York dwindled, the anticipation within the cast grew palpable. As the departure day approached, the team's meetings became more and more detailed, delving into everything from the logistics of their stay to the cultural intricacies important for filming in Paris. Finally, after a whirlwind of preparation, the moment to head to Paris arrived. The city, known for its breathtaking beauty, historical richness, and vibrant culture, awaited them, promising to add a unique and profound dimension to their film. Boarding the plane, Lucas took a moment to observe his fellow cast members, sensing the shared anticipation. Soon, its enchanting streets would serve as the backdrop for their creative endeavor, infusing the film with a charm only Paris could offer. Chapter 144, Paris. The plane's soft landing heralded their arrival in Paris, a city synonymous with light and romance. As Lucas disembarked, he was immediately wrapped in the city's unique charm, a blend of the scent of fresh pastries and a brisk, inspiring breeze. While gathering their luggage, Lucas felt a friendly pat on his back. Turning around, he saw Tom Hiddleston, his familiar grin in place. "Ah, Lucas," Tom began, his tone playfully serious, "you must tread carefully in this city, it's famous for its romance. You might end up captivated by a local beauty during the night." Lucas chuckled. "Tom, maybe you've been watching too many old movies. Don't worry, I'll be careful. You should focus on yourself, though." Corey, standing nearby, let out a chuckle at their exchange. Exiting the airport, they were met by a line of cars ready to whisk them away. Through the windows, Paris unveiled itself, its historic stone bridges, age-old buildings, and contemporary flair unfolding before Lucas's eyes. Their rented accommodation was nestled in a picturesque quarter of Paris, chosen not just for its easy access to filming sites but also for its quintessential Parisian feel. As they approached, Lucas couldn't help but admire the structure. This building has such a classic, almost artistic look to it. What did you expect? This is Europe, after all, Tom chuckled, nudging Lucas playfully. Corey joined in, "Ah, Europe. It's all just so different here, less rush, more history, you feel it in the air." Inside, the crew and cast engaged in their own conversations, absorbing the character of their temporary Parisian residents. As they began settling into their new base, the team convened briefly, not for a formal meeting, but to align on logistics and schedules in a relaxed manner. After a brief period of rest, the key crew members convened to discuss the upcoming filming details with Woody, the project's esteemed writer and director. Meanwhile, Lucas and the other cast members seized the opportunity to immerse themselves in the vibrant life of Paris, eager to absorb everything the city had to offer. Lucas found himself strolling through the historic streets alongside Adrian Brody, Marion Cotillard, Rachel McAdams, and a few other co-stars, separated for the moment from his newfound friends Tom and Corey. Their excursion was more than mere tourism, though they admired the sights with the keen interest of visitors. Their walk was also an artistic pilgrimage. They aimed to soak in the ambience, the architecture, and the bustling life of Parisians, seeking inspiration that would breathe authenticity and depth into their roles for Midnight in Paris. Understanding the city's rhythm, its lights and shadows was crucial for them to genuinely portray characters intertwined with the essence of Paris. Lucas and the group could explore iconic areas such as Montmartre, with its bohemian history and the stunning Sacré-Cœur Basilica, or the picturesque streets of Le Marais, which reflect the old-world charm juxtaposed with modern-day Paris. Strolling along the Seine, visiting landmarks like Notre Dame, or walking through the vibrant Latin Quarter could offer them a tangible sense of the city's layered history and dynamic culture, elements central to the film's narrative. Later, in a quaint café nestled in one of these historic neighborhoods, Lucas sat with Adrian and Marion, while other cast and crew members ventured to different locales. The ambience was a perfect backdrop for reflective conversation. Marion, sipping her coffee, turned to Lucas with a genuine smile. "It seems your career is doing very well, Lucas," she noted, her tone both complimentary and curious. "Now you've even landed the role of the protagonist in Woody's film." Lucas responded with a modest smile, a hint of pride in his voice. "After 127 hours received such acclaim, I did start to get more interesting offers. This project with Woody was one that really stood out." Adrian, with a knowing chuckle, interjected, "I mean, it's a Woody Allen film, right? Any actor would jump at the chance." He leaned back, adding thoughtfully, "What drew me in was not just Woody's involvement but the compelling script." Marion nodded thoughtfully before turning to Lucas. "I've heard about your breakout role in 127 hours but haven't seen it yet. They say your performance was rather remarkable." Before Lucas could respond, Adrian jumped in, "Oh, Marion, it's a must-watch. Lucas was extraordinary in it." Marion offered a considerate smile, "I'll have to add it to my list then." Lucas, unable to resist, teased Adrian with a chuckle, "Seems like you're not quite cut out for the endorsing game, Adrian." Marion doesn't seem sold. Adrian's laughter was light, "Haha, you should feel lucky I'm promoting your film without a fee. Imagine what my manager and agent would say if they found out I was giving out endorsements for free." Lucas joined in the laughter, while Marion watched the exchange, her face lit up with an amused smile. During their light-hearted banter, Lucas mentioned, "I'm thinking of heading to Shakespeare and Company. Diving into some classic literature might just spark some inspiration." Adrian was quick to show his interest, "I've been meaning to visit as well. Count me in." Marion, not wanting to miss out, chimed in, "I'll join you both." With that, after enjoying their cafe ambience a bit longer, they rose and made their way to the bookstore. Shakespeare and Company wasn't just a bookstore, it was a haven for the writers and readers, literature fans. It made perfect sense for Lucas, embodying Gil, a writer enchanted by the literary greats and the allure of the past, to seek inspiration within its storied walls. Comment. 11 Comment. Vote. Chapter 145, First Day Shooting Sequences. In the early morning light of Paris, the cast and crew gathered in their rented Parisian studio, gearing up for the day's shoot for the film project Midnight in Paris. After settling in from their flight the day before, Lucas and his colleagues ventured out into the heart of Paris yesterday. They explored several iconic locations, a move designed to deepen their understanding of their characters and enhance their performances in the film. The ambience of Paris, with its historic buildings and timeless charm, proved particularly beneficial for the actors involved in scenes set in the 1920s. The city's atmosphere and architecture effortlessly transported them back in time, aiding them in fully embodying their roles from that bygone era. Inside the Parisian studio, the cast members delved deeply into their roles through rehearsal, honing their performances for the upcoming scenes. It was during these moments of intense preparation that they were gently nudged by the assistant director, a key figure in keeping the day's schedule on track, who reminded them, "Everyone, please, let's stay focused. Those involved in the early scenes, make sure you are fully prepared. We're about to start shooting." Prompted by the reminder, all actors, from newcomers like Lucas to seasoned professionals such as Marion, Adrian, and Rachel, began their final preparations. Unlike his colleagues, Lucas appeared noticeably more relaxed. While others, regardless of their experience, repetitively went over their lines with visible anxiety, Lucas simply took a deep breath, his demeanor calm and collected. Amidst the bustling atmosphere, the crew was busy dressing the actors and applying their makeup, each member playing their part in the seamless orchestration of the shoot. Amid this hive of activity, Lucas stood out, quietly observing the scene unfolding around him, a silent witness to the prelude of the day's filming. The shooting commenced in the hotel lobby, for which the team had secured a filming permit. The scene featured Kurt Fuller and Mimi Kennedy as John and Helen, the parents of Inez, played by Rachel McAdams, with Lucas stepping into the shoes of Gil. All were poised and ready for the cameras. Meanwhile, director Woody, along with other essential crew members, meticulously prepared the set, adjusting props, lighting, and positioning to ensure that everything was picture-perfect for the first take. 1, 2, 3, action! Echoed Woody's commanding voice, cutting through the charged silence, and with that cue, the world of the film unfurled into motion. Lucas, taking on the essence of Gil, alongside Rachel, who stepped seamlessly into the role of Inez, entered the majestic lobby. Awaiting them were the expectant faces of Inez's parents, brought to life by Kit's John and Mimi's Helen. Breaking the stillness, John, with a hint of playful sarcasm, remarked, "There are our sightseers," setting the tone with his gently mocking welcome. Inez, her voice tinged with a mix of fatigue and wonder, responded, "If I never see another charming boulevard or bistro," leaving her sentiment hanging, a perfect blend of weariness and enchantment. Gil, through Lucas's compelling performance, filled the room with an infectious sense of awe. "What a town," he whispered, eyes alight with a mix of reverence and desire. Helen, a realistic person, interjected succinctly, "To visit, grounding their fleeting dream with a touch of practicality." Gil continued, undeterred, his voice rich with longing, "I could easily see myself as a Parisian strolling the left bank, a baguette under my arm, finishing my novel at a table at the café floor. A movable feast, Hemingway called it." For a moment, Lucas wasn't just acting, he was living every word, his longing so tangible it seemed to transport him to a different era. Helen, bringing them back to reality, retorted, "In this traffic, nothing moves," her words a stark reminder of the present. Gil, or rather Lucas, reflected thoughtfully, "Well, yes, it was different then," his words acknowledging the relentless march of time upon the city they adored. John, redirected their conversation, "Can we continue this talk of movable feasts at Grand V4 because I'm starved?" Gil chuckles as he lightly noted, "Americans eat dinner so early," casting a playful light on their cultural differences. "And I'm proud of it," retorted John, closing the exchange on a note of light-hearted national pride. Throughout the scene, Lucas stood out with a portrayal that was nothing short of mesmerizing. He didn't just act, he became Gil, bringing a depth of emotion and nuance that was a delight to witness. From the sidelines, Woody watched, a growing sense of pleasure evident as Lucas continued to bring Gil to life with every word and gesture. Despite this, the need for a second take arose, not due to Lucas's performance, but rather small errors from others like Kurt and Rachel. Yet, in those moments, Lucas's talent shone all the brighter, anchoring the scene with his profound embodiment of Gil. After 2 takes, the team moved on to the next location, the breathtaking Monet's garden, setting the stage for the first sequence of the film featuring Gil and Inez. Amid the chaos of setting up, everyone hustled to rearrange the sequence of shots for maximum efficiency, ensuring the day's filming progressed smoothly. As the camera rolled, Gil and Inez, portrayed by Lucas and Rachel, began their exchange, the garden around them a riot of color and light, almost another character in their unfolding drama. Lucas, as Gil, delivered his lines with a heartfelt sincerity that made the scene come alive. "Boy, I'd drop the house in Beverly Hills, the pool, everything, in a heartbeat. Look, this is where Monet lived and painted, we're 30 minutes from town. Imagine the 2 of us settling here. If my book turns out, we could do it, you could just as easily make jewelry here." Rachel's Inez responded, her voice laced with a mix of skepticism and wistfulness, "You're in love with a fantasy." But Gil, with Lucas's eyes brimming with unfeigned emotion, tenderly countered, "I'm in love with you." And with those words, he leaned in, and their lips met in a kiss that seemed to capture the essence of their complex relationship. Chapter 146, Paris in the Rain. Paris in the Rain, by Love. Dash. 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 The production of Midnight in Paris continued, and at times, Lucas brought his unique interpretation to his character and the narrative of the film. His insights were shaped by his mind workshop, allowing him to offer thoughtful opinions to the creative director, Woody Allen. Unlike his experience with Like Crazy, where he had significant creative control, Lucas's input was more constrained. Nevertheless, his contributions were valued, leading to moments where he improvised as Gil, delivering lines not found in the original script. The shoot lasted several weeks, during which Woody Allen saw Lucas's musical potential and requested him to write a song for the movie. Woody had recognized Lucas's musical talent from his previous works, notably his songs Perfect in Modern Family and The Scientist at the end of 127 Hours. Intrigued, he was eager to incorporate Lucas's musical creativity into Midnight in Paris. Consequently, Lucas was given the opportunity to perform his composition in a specific scene of the film. The film's production neared its climax in a scene filled with raw emotion and haunting beauty, set against the backdrop of Paris at night. In this pivotal moment, Lucas, embodying the character of Gil, stands beside Marion, who plays Adriana, amidst a stunning Parisian vista that exudes romance. As the scene unfolds, the air is filled with an almost tangible tension. Gil, caught in a whirlwind of emotions, acts on impulse and kisses Adriana. The camera zooms in, capturing the exact moment their lips meet, a perfect blend of passion and vulnerability. Adriana, taken aback, breaks the silence, her voice a mixture of surprise and inquiry, "What are you doing?" Gil, a turmoil of emotions reflected in his eyes, responds with a voice laden with existential angst, "I don't know, but I do know that for a brief moment, when I was doing it, I felt immortal." Adriana, her eyes locked on Gil's, senses the depth of his turmoil, "But, you look so sad." Gil exhales, a weary sigh escaping his lips, "Because life is too mysterious for me." The dialogue deepens as Adriana shares her own reflections, a hint of melancholy in her voice, "It's the time we live in. Everything moves so fast, life is noisy and complicated, not like the Belle Époque. In those years Paris lived only for beauty." Gil, introspective and candid, reveals his inner conflict, "I've always been a logical person. I never took chances, did anything crazy, like move here when I first came or take a shot at being a real writer, not a Hollywood hired hand, but I feel like letting everything go." It is then, in a moment brimming with surprise and symbolic of his newfound courage, that Gil presents Adriana with a pair of earrings. The atmosphere was electric, filled with palpable anticipation as the scene shifted to Lucas, stepping into Gil's shoes, poised to deliver the song he and Woody had meticulously selected for the film. Adriana, brought to life by Marion, watched him with eyes full of admiration, her new earrings adding a silent depth to their unspoken bond. Then, without a prelude, Lucas began to sing, his voice weaving through the Parisian night, stirring the air. "All I know is, we could go anywhere, we could do anything, girl, whatever the mood we're in. Yeah, all I know is," he crooned, "getting lost late at night, under stars, finding love standing right where we are, your lips." Lucas's voice grew more intimate, "They pull me in the moment. You and I alone and, people may be watching, I don't mind." Then, Lucas, as Gil, gently took Marion's hand, portraying Adriana, and assured, "'Cause anywhere with you feels right. Anywhere with you feels like Paris in the rain. Paris in the rain." As Lucas's voice filled the air, the moment and the setting seemed to blend seamlessly with the melody. The crew had set the stage for rain, and as the first drops began to fall, Gil and Adrienne strolled through the enchanting streets of Paris at night, utterly lost in each other. Lucas sang with a depth of emotion and authenticity that captivated everyone on set. The cast and crew, especially Marion, who was completely immersed in her character, were visibly touched by the performance. Though they all knew Lucas was going to introduce a song into the scene as Woody had discussed with key members of the team, they hadn't anticipated how well the rhythm and lyrics would resonate with the scene's ambience. As the filming progressed, Woody and the key crew members intently watched the unfolding scene on the monitors. Incorporating a musical element with the protagonist singing was a familiar trope in cinema, known for adding an enchanting layer of emotion and charm to a scene. As they observed Lucas's performance, the artificial rain prepared by the team continued to fall, its sound melding with his voice. This interaction between the rain and the music posed a challenge, but they knew that with proper recording and editing, the song could seamlessly integrate into the scene, enhancing the atmosphere with the orchestrated sound of the rain. Listening to Lucas's heartfelt rendition, Woody and the crew began to appreciate the unique dimension his song brought to the film. Though initially unplanned and a bit of an experiment by Woody, the idea of including Lucas's song was gradually seen not just as feasible, but as a potentially brilliant addition to the film. The final note of Lucas's song lingered in the air, blending with the gentle patter of artificial rain, as the bustling Parisian street scene came to a standstill. Silence enveloped the set for a moment. Then, breaking the silence, a wave of applause erupted from everyone present. Woody started clapping enthusiastically, followed by the crew members and the rest of the team. Their faces lit up with smiles and expressions of genuine appreciation as they looked towards Lucas, who was still standing in the rain-soaked street, breathing heavily from the emotional exertion of his performance. The rest of the cast followed suit, their applause echoing through the set, mingling with the fading sounds of the orchestrated rain. Chapter 147, Nominated. The filming of Midnight in Paris concluded with the final scenes where Gil decides to remain in Paris and encounters the museum guide. In these concluding moments, rain begins to fall, evoking Gil's nostalgia for his time with Adriana. Moved by these memories, he sings Paris in the Rain. Woody and the main crew members are planning to feature this song during the ending credits of the film, with Lucas, who portrays Gil, providing the vocals in a voiceover that echoes through the closing scene. Lucas felt a sense of emptiness as the filming concluded, everything seemed to pass in a blink. He had already said goodbye to fellow cast members like Tom Hiddleston, Corey Stoll, and Adrian Brody, who had finished their scenes earlier. Lucas had grown close to the cast, and saying farewell to them, including Marion Cotillard and Rachel McAdams, intensified his mixed emotions. Though it had only been a few weeks, to Lucas, it felt much longer, leaving him with a lingering sense of emptiness. Lucas always feels a certain way after wrapping up a project, but Midnight in Paris left him with particularly complex emotions due to the close bonds he formed with some of the cast and crew. This experience differed from his time on Like Crazy, where he and CO stars like Jennifer and Felicity exchanged contact information and promised to stay in touch. After Midnight in Paris, however, Lucas sensed that the goodbyes might be more final, unsure if he would ever see or work with these colleagues again. Following the project, Lucas flew to New York with Woody and the crew to lay down the vocals for Paris in the Night at a studio financed by the film's producers. After the recording session in New York, Lucas and Woody spent some time together. The recording process was swift, and soon the song was complete. It was then that Woody turned to Lucas, expressing his gratitude and admiration for Lucas's work. "You've brought something truly special to this project, Lucas," he said, his voice sincere. "I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Let's make sure this isn't the last time we collaborate." With a firm handshake and a mutual respect, they parted ways. Afterwards, Lucas checked in with his agent, who also acts as his manager. The agent had exciting news: "Lucas, your nomination for this year's Primetime Emmy Awards has really made certain amount of attention in Hollywood. Several influential figures have been in touch, showing interest in managing you." Hearing this, Lucas felt a bit surprise and anticipation, a stark contrast to the bittersweet emotions he had been wrestling with since the conclusion of Midnight in Paris. Eagerly, he asked, "Really? Who are they? I might recognize some of the names." Vincent took a moment, seemingly preparing his response, then said, "Sure, Lucas. First up, we've got Sam Levinson, also an actor, has a knack for spotting and nurturing talent as producer and filmmaker. Then there's Ava DuVernay, whose work's becoming quite well known in the industry. And there are a few more notable names interested as well." Vincent gave Lucas a thoughtful look and asked, "So, what do you think? Are you considering getting a manager now?" Lucas fell silent for a moment, then replied, "I need to think about it a bit more." Understanding, Vincent nodded and patted Lucas on the shoulder, saying, "Take your time to think it over. You might get a chance to meet them at the Emmys, which could be a good opportunity to get to know them better." Lucas responded with a light chuckle, "Speaking of the Emmys, have you contacted a designer for my outfit yet?" Vincent replied with a wry smile, "I've got a few reputable ones in mind I can recommend." Lucas, still chuckling, added, "Just make sure they're not like that one designer who refused to dress me because I wasn't well known enough." They both laughed, recalling the incident with Carrie Porter, a designer who had turned Lucas down in the past. But times had changed. Lucas was making waves in Hollywood, thanks to his standout role in Modern Family, the buzz around his rendition of Perfect in the show's 4th episode, and his lead role in the indie hit 127 Hours, which had already grossed $12 million at the box office and was poised for international release. For Lucas Knight, a newcomer to Hollywood, these milestones were significant, marking his rising status in the industry. Vincent reassured Lucas, "Don't worry, Lucas. I've learned my lesson from that first designer mishap." He paused, reflecting before continuing, "This time, I'll steer clear of those big-name luxury brands that might still underestimate you despite your accomplishments. Instead, I'm thinking of suggesting designers who are prestigious yet not as mainstream as the brand of the first designer we approached, brands that recognize and appreciate emerging talent like yours. For instance, we could consider outfits from Rag & Bone, Ted Baker, or even Acne Studios. They're stylish, respected, and more in tune with the current scene." Lucas laughed, teasing, "So, that first run-in with the designer left you a bit wary of the big luxury brands, hey?" Vincent returned the laugh, clarifying, "Not exactly. Actually, I wouldn't mind suggesting someone from Gucci or similar brands that would honor your style and achievements." After a smile from Lucas, the conversation shifted away from fashion. They chatted for a bit longer before Lucas headed back to his apartment. He was eager to check the latest Bitcoin prices, considering buying a few $1,000s worth. In July 2010, the price of Bitcoin was extremely low compared to its future valuations, hovering around 8 cents per Bitcoin. He recognized the potential in the cryptocurrency's value and wanted to take advantage of its then cheap price, intuitively sensing that it would surge significantly in the upcoming years. Chapter 148, Release. Before the Primetime Emmy Awards, Lucas decided to rest and spend some time in New York for a few days before heading to Yellowstone National Park, Wyoming. Lucas doesn't need to worry about finances, he has several $100,000 in his bank account, thanks to his earnings from the recently concluded film project, Midnight in Paris. This financial security allows him the luxury to relax and unwind. During his few days in New York, before setting off on his travels, Lucas kept a heartfelt promise to Liza's friends by visiting them in the cancer ward at Bellevue Hospital. Reflecting on the past year, it's clear Lucas hasn't had much time to rest. Since arriving into this world, he's been laser-focused on his acting career. From his early days as Dylan in Modern Family to his gripping role in the indie film 127 Hours as Aaron Ralston, followed by his turn as Arthur in the potential blockbuster Inception, and not forgetting his part in the series Seven Kingdoms, which later became Game of Thrones. Then there's his recent work in the indie film Midnight in Paris as Gil. Beyond acting, Lucas has been busy with music, bringing over songs from his previous life, signing a deal with Big Machine Records, and preparing for the release of his Night album. All of this hard work means Lucas hasn't had much downtime, yet it has helped his name start to ripple through Hollywood. His role in 127 Hours caught the eye of film aficionados, while Modern Family made him a familiar face among general viewers. Even though Lucas knows he's not yet a household name, his dedication over the last year surely earns him some well-deserved rest. Now, Lucas is in Wyoming, embracing a much-needed break. Surrounded by the breathtaking scenery of Yellowstone National Park, he finds peace away from the cameras and studios. Each day, he immerses himself in the natural wonders, from the majestic geysers to the abundant wildlife, reminding him of the world's beauty beyond the silver screen. This time in Wyoming offers Lucas not just rest, but a moment to reflect on his journey and the paths yet to explore. As he breathes in the fresh mountain air, Lucas feels rejuvenated, ready to face whatever his next act might bring. While Lucas takes a well-deserved break, traveling across the picturesque landscapes of the USA, whether it's hiking through lush trails, soaking in the serenity of mountain vistas, or lounging on sunny beaches, his music career is hitting a new note. On July 25, 2010, his album Night was released by Big Machine Records, marking a significant milestone. Discussions about Lucas's album Night began cropping up on Yahoo and various social media platforms. The album, featuring songs like Perfect, The Scientist, Wonderwall, Someone You Loved, and Everglow, sparked curiosity among listeners. Lucas, while only modestly known at this time, had previously caught the public's attention with a viral clip from Modern Family Season 1, Episode 4, where he, as Dylan, performed Perfect. This video alone amassed over 5.1 million views in just a few months in YouTube, highlighting a growing interest in his musical talents. The conversation around Night on social platforms and music forums often revolves around the intriguing blend of heartfelt lyrics and captivating melodies. Fans and new listeners alike are drawn to the emotional depth and authenticity Lucas brings to his songs, with many speculating about the personal experiences that inspired them. In the Yahoo Music forum, discussions about Lucas's Night album bubbled up rapidly. One user exclaimed, "Just listen to the Night album by Lucas, wow! The Scientist brings back so many emotions from 127 Hours. Honestly, I didn't expect that level of depth from him." The thread quickly filled with enthusiastic responses. "Totally agree. First saw him as Dylan in Modern Family. That clip of him singing Perfect went viral for a reason. He's genuinely talented." Another group of Lucas fans chimed in, "Is anyone else totally captivated by Someone You Loved and Everglow? They're the new tracks on Lucas's album and they're hauntingly beautiful. It's a side of him we've never seen before." Over on Twitter, where fans of various celebrities converge to share their latest obsessions, the sentiment was just as fervent. One tweet read, "Has anyone else had Wonderwall on repeat this morning? Lucas's new track is stunning. Lucas Night album." On Twitter, fans couldn't stop praising Lucas's rendition of The Scientist featured in the film 127 Hours. One tweet exclaimed, "Lucas's The Scientist at the end of 127 Hours was a masterpiece. The song alone adds a whole new dimension to the film's conclusion. Now that it's on the Night album, you've got to give it a listen." Lucas's fanbase on Twitter also fell in love with tracks like Someone You Loved. Its catchy melody and poignant lyrics left a strong impression, leading many to recommend the album to friends and family enthusiastically. Moreover, even those who weren't initially fans of Lucas began to take notice due to the buzz created by his existing fans. Curiosity was piqued by the song Perfect, compelling newcomers to explore the Night album further. Upon listening, these new listeners became intrigued by Lucas, driven to learn more about him online. To their surprise, they found Lucas absent from social media, his IMDb page listing only his roles in Modern Family and 127 Hours, alongside mentions of unreleased projects like Inception. Despite his relatively low Hollywood profile, those who had discovered his music yearned to see more of Lucas Knight beyond his compelling songs. Clearly, Lucas's music resonated across platforms, highlighting his diverse fan base and showcasing his evolving artistic range. Whether it was seasoned fans from his acting days or newcomers drawn in by his music, the conversations underscored a collective appreciation for his new work, bridging his on-screen charisma with his musical expressions. As Lucas continued his travels, he remained blissfully unaware of the growing acclaim his album was receiving. He had chosen this time to disconnect, to immerse himself in solitude and the natural beauty surrounding him, away from the constant buzz of the industry. His journey was a deliberate step back from the fast-paced world, a time for self-reflection and grounding. Chapter 149, Prior to Primetime Emmy. As the days passed, Lucas's album sales began to surpass expectations, surprising even Big Machine Records, the label that had signed him. Initially, they had high hopes, but the reality exceeded their forecasts. Thanks to their strategic marketing efforts and the authentic, grassroots promotions by Lucas's dedicated fans, the album's popularity soared. The record label, analyzing trends and feedback, estimated that the sales were not just a flash in the pan but could continue to surge, riding the wave of genuine enthusiasm and word-of-mouth recommendations. The head of artist and repertoire, A&R, at Big Machine Records, who had been instrumental in signing Lucas, was both pleasantly surprised and delighted by the unexpected success of Lucas's Night album. Initially, the label had anticipated modest success, buoyed by the viral clip of Lucas singing Perfect as Dylan. Yet, signing an actor primarily known for his on-screen work was still considered a risk. However, the album's performance far exceeded the label's cautious expectations. Seated in their office, encircled by charts and sales reports, the A&R director couldn't suppress a growing sense of pride and satisfaction. The numbers were telling a story far beyond what they had dared to hope. In fact, even with just the initial sales of Lucas's album and his songs gaining traction on various social media platforms, there was already a buzz among the folks at Big Machine Records. They started speculating that if Lucas's album continued to climb in popularity and achieve greater heights, perhaps even making its way onto the Billboard charts, he could potentially rival the music industry's top stars, like Bruno Mars or even Taylor Swift, who was also part of the Big Machine Records family. The Primetime Emmy event was drawing closer, and in the interim, Lucas wrapped up his period of rest and travel. He returned to New York to engage in contract negotiations with his agent, Vincent, regarding his guest appearances on the show Modern Family with ABC Network. As the Primetime Emmy Awards approached, Lucas wrapped up his restful vacation and returned to New York. He was there to engage in crucial contract negotiations with his agent, Vincent, regarding his guest appearances on the show Modern Family for ABC Network. During their meeting, Lucas spent some time discussing not only the contract details but also revisiting a business idea he had previously suggested to Vincent. He outlined his vision and the potential it held, urging Vincent to consider the proposal seriously. Vincent, recognizing the gravity of the proposal and the trust Lucas placed in him, pondered deeply over the idea. After considering all angles and the potential for success, he committed to investing $100,000 in Lucas's business concept. Understanding the initial financial hurdles Uber faced, Lucas leveraged his future knowledge to draft comprehensive documents aimed at mitigating early financial losses. By doing so, he hoped to make the significant investment work in their favor, turning the innovative concept into a viable business while avoiding the pitfalls that had initially plagued Uber. After wrapping up their business discussion, Lucas and Vincent moved on to review the contract offer from ABC Network. Lucas agreed to a significant increase in his pay rate, now set at $75,000 per episode, a substantial jump from his Season 1 earnings. This spike in compensation wasn't entirely unexpected, as Lucas's industry value was anticipated to climb, especially with the upcoming release of other projects he was involved in. Additionally, his rendition of Perfect in the fourth episode of Modern Family Season 1 had significantly boosted the show's popularity. In essence, even though Lucas was only making guest appearances on the show, his presence had become a major draw. His involvement was enough to reignite interest and encourage viewers to tune in again, regardless of his sporadic presence in the episodes. As the Primetime Emmy Awards approached in late August, Lucas's contributions to the show, especially his song, were set to be highlighted once more. His nomination alone served as a testament to his value, signaling to the network just how impactful his presence on Modern Family had been. The prospect of the Emmy event meant that Lucas would have the chance to reconnect with the cast of Modern Family, a thought that brought a warm smile to his face. Signing the contract with ABC Network, Lucas realized that this would likely mean returning to the set and collaborating once again with the cast members he hadn't seen in some time. The anticipation of reuniting with his colleagues and stepping back into that familiar environment filled him with a sense of excitement and nostalgia. Lucas's nomination for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Comedy Series might have seemed unlikely to win, considering his limited impact on Modern Family, except for the memorable performance of Perfect in Season 1, Episode 4. Yet, this single episode was enough to turn heads within the industry towards him. This recognition led to other opportunities for Lucas, such as offers for advertisements and endorsements. While his prospects for winning the Emmy were modest, his talents were recognized far beyond the realm of television comedy. Industry insiders were already familiar with Lucas's compelling performance in the indie film 127 Hours. They saw in him potential that transcended the boundaries of just the Primetime Emmys. To many, Lucas was primarily a film actor, not just a television star. His impressive film debut had set the stage for what many believed would inevitably lead to Oscar nominations. In essence, while the Primetime Emmys were an acknowledgement, those in the know understood that Lucas's journey and capabilities stretched much further, with the film industry offering him a broader and more suitable platform for his talents. The idea of Lucas potentially being nominated for a Grammy wasn't far-fetched either. His album had already racked up thousands in sales and caught the attention of music enthusiasts far and wide. This growing popularity among the music-loving community highlighted not just his versatility as an artist but also the genuine appeal of his work. Chapter 150, Lucas's return to Modern Family. Lucas headed toward the Modern Family set and was immediately met with a warm barrage of greetings from the cast members he hadn't seen in a long time. "Ah, I genuinely thought I'd never see you again, Lucas." "Looks like I was wrong," Ty sighed as he embraced Lucas warmly. "You don't seem thrilled to see me, Ty," Lucas said, chuckling. "Not thrilled? Of course, I'm not thrilled," Ty quipped. As all eyes turned to him, he clapped Lucas on the back and clarified with a smile, "I'm excited to see you again, Knight." Lucas smiled, tickled by Ty's humor. "I'm excited to see you too." Julie chimed in, "I've heard about your new album, Lucas. With the hectic schedule of filming the show, I haven't managed to grab a copy yet, but I'm really looking forward to listening to your songs. It's been all over Twitter, and from what I've seen, people are praising the album so much that I started to wonder if they were paid or something," Sarah Hyland said with a chuckle, lounging on the couch. "Hee, curiosity got the best of me, and I checked out the Twitter buzz about my album too. I might have had the same doubts if I hadn't heard the songs myself," Lucas responded, laughing along. Lucas spent time catching up with the Modern Family cast, who had become more familiar faces to him after his absence. Nolan, the child actor, was especially curious about Lucas's album, while Ariel showed a keen interest in his acting career thus far. Reconnecting and sharing moments with the cast of one of his favorite shows brought a subtle joy to Lucas. After his time with the cast, Lucas then moved on to chat with the show's creators, Stephen Levitan and Christopher Lloyd. "I'll be honest with you, Lucas," Christopher started, sighing a bit. "Initially, Stephen and I didn't plan for Dylan's personality to evolve much in the second season. But your charm won the audience over, and the network, along with the producers, insisted we flesh out Dylan's character more. They wanted him to show personal growth, even amidst the comedic scenes with Haley, despite his limited appearances this season." Stephen chimed in, "And after your Emmy nomination, the network and producers were even more adamant that Dylan's character shed some of his naivety and experience some personal growth." Lucas raised his eyebrows, slightly surprised. "Oh? So, Dylan will experience personal growth beyond his relationship with Haley?" Both Stephen and Christopher nodded. "Honestly, we initially wanted to keep Dylan's development simple, maintaining his naivete for comedic effect," Christopher confessed. "But the producers pushed for him to show at least some personal growth and to start pursuing his career as a band's lead vocalist." Hearing that the producers wanted Dylan to progress in his career, Lucas let out a wry chuckle. "So, the producers basically want Dylan to belt out another song that could go viral among music fans and on YouTube. Steven and Christopher shared a laugh, with Steven responding, "What can we say? You're partly to blame for creating a hit like Perfect that exploded online and racked up millions of YouTube views. That's why the producers are eager to harness your musical talent through Dylan, hoping you'll deliver more songs in a scene or two this season." Lucas gave a wry smile, thinking to himself, "No wonder ABC Network offered me such a lucrative contract, $75,000 per episode, even though I'm only in a few episodes." Noticing Lucas's mixed expression, Christopher added, "Don't worry, we're not planning to claim copyright on any of the songs you might perform in a scene or two this season. Just like with Perfect in Season 1, you'll retain the rights." Lucas nodded, sharing his thoughts aloud, "Well, it really depends on whether I feel inspired to write a song. If I do, maybe I could feature Dylan's band in a scene or two." Steven and Christopher understood, with Steven adding, "We get it. If you come up with a song, just give us a heads up. We'll figure out how to work in a scene where Dylan performs with his band." Lucas acknowledged this. It seemed he might need to draw some songs from his past life for Dylan to perform. Despite the unexpected request from the production team for Dylan, the role of Lucas, to potentially include a song in a scene or two, Lucas wasn't overly concerned. He knew the copyright would remain his, and he'd also profit from any royalties the song generated on the show, courtesy of the ABC network. And Lucas was not one to turn down an opportunity to earn some extra income. With these considerations in mind, Lucas joined the rest of the cast for rehearsals before they officially filmed the episode featuring his character, Dylan. Even though Lucas's screen time was brief, his role in the episode made a significant impact, enriching the comedy and engaging the audience with his lines. The production of Modern Family for Season 2 started early, giving the team ample time to refine scenes and adjust storylines to ensure they meet their high standards before the episodes are aired. After wrapping up his scenes, Lucas was saying his goodbyes to the cast and crew when he noticed an argument between Steven and Christopher. This wasn't new to him, he remembered from Season 1 that the two often had creative differences. Eventually, Steven, looking frustrated, conceded and left the writing of the entire episode to Christopher. This kind of tension wasn't unusual on set. Lucas observed other familiar sights. Ariel's mother was still a constant presence, watching over her daughter who seemed increasingly reserved. And Sarah appeared more fatigued than before, often taking breaks to rest or nap, a change from the energy she displayed during Season 1's filming. It was a reminder that, despite changes, some things on the set remained the same.